Hey, Lise. For some reason, StreamYards created 2 live streams, and I wasn't sure which was which, so when I deleted it deleted them both. So, like, whoa with StreamYards, slow down StreamYards, get out the way. StreamYards is crazy. Absolutely crazy. I've never had that happen before. Hey, thanks, Lee. I appreciate the sound check. So I don't know what the heck was going on with that, but if you didn't hear earlier, I started a live stream through StreamYards like normal, and it put two on the YouTube channel. So I thought I found the one that I was linked to, deleted the other one, and yeah, it didn't work out. Deleted all of them. Deleted them both. What? So I had to start a new one. So we'll just wait a couple minutes for people to find their way in. I hope my sound is okay. I got this new mic and the new ears that my brother gifted me. Because he's awesome and all that stuff. And just got off a train earlier, so if you're listening, what's up, bro-ho? I hope everybody's doing good. At least it's been a while. I spent a whole day at the hospital yesterday. I have to tell you about that. Earth, always good to see you. I got your messages. I left the hospital late last night or yesterday evening, still on some medication, and I came home and I was out. I crashed hard. My sister-in-law, if she's here, there's Lefty. Check out your new sound, bro ho. Blushing blue eyes, if she's here. My sister-in-law had her hands full yesterday with me. Hospitals are not fun, people. Not at all. Hey, Texas girl. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing really good. Lee Marie, as always, speak for those who can't. Okay, thanks. I appreciate the heads up on that. Hey, Diz. Good to see everybody. It's been a while. I've had a lot of crazy stuff going on. A lot of crazy stuff going on. Just medical. I just can't wait for all this stuff to be over. Freeside 19X. I feel like I know you from another name, but I'm not positive. I can't say that for sure. Irish gal in the house. Thanks. Good to see ya. Lee says, so you don't think I'm whacked from my text to you? No. I kind of alluded to I kind of figured what you were alluding to, but sometimes I would much rather wait and let people kind of go through the same thought process that I went through before that. So no, definitely. I never think you're whacked. Are you kidding me? You're an awesome, amazing person. So no, there's no whack. Nothing at all. It's all good in the hood. Tater, I love you, Tater. You're awesome. Queen Bella, glad you guys could make it in. Something happened kind of close to one of my hometowns that just hit the news. I just heard about it and I was like, what in the heckle? You know, kind of one of those things that makes you sit back like, what the hell? And I didn't really see anybody talking about it, you know, and I thought, I don't know, it bothered me. It disturbed me quite a bit. So I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to bring it to people's attention. But while we're waiting for anyone else to stream in, I've been MIA for a little bit. I've not been lurking. I'm seeing that there's a lot of crazy going on. I don't know if I want to get caught up on it or not, to be truthful. But for those, a lot of people know, some don't know. The accident that I had at work a while back, I was left with some aneurysms and desperately fighting for the railroad that I've worked 21 years for to own up to their bullshit and allow treatments and so on and so forth. And there's just been a big battle. And so 2 aneurysms have turned into 3, and they cause a lot of hell whenever as they're progressively getting bigger. So I haven't been lurking. Don't know about the majority of the drama stuff that's going on. To be honest with you, the last week and a half, I haven't even lurked in chats, which is very unusual for me. But so if there's any discrepancies in the chat that has anything to do with other channels, please just like not tonight. Oh, I've had enough of just a lot of the crazy stuff. And, sometimes I just like to back away from it, especially when I've got some serious medical stuff going on. Hey, Brenda. Brenda, beautiful Brenda. Good to see you. Always good to see you. Yeah, as that other person said, all she does is collect tickets and stuff. Yeah, okay. Yeep, yeep, yeep. Flung from the side of a rail car and dragged about 500 feet unconscious. But all I do is collect tickets, please. All you do is nothing but drama. So shut up. Yeah, aneurysms, 3 of them. 3. There was 2, now there's 3. And they've gotten a little bit bigger. But anyways, I've got some important stuff that I wanted to share with you guys tonight. And I wanted to catch up and see how everybody's doing. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's good. Has anyone heard of Geauga's child by chance? Just like, if you've heard of Geauga's child, put some ones in the chat, because I hadn't heard of Geauga's child until several years ago. And then recently, Geauga's child came back into the news. And let's see, familial DNA and a jury trial. And I want to tell the rest of you through the court and witness testimony and the guilty person herself. I'd like to share with you 2 stories of 2 mothers in the judicial system and how it varies over a 26-year period, and how possibly being from a wealthy white family in a wealthy neighborhood could potentially benefit you if you share the opinions of several others. So I want to introduce you to that. Hey, Candy Girl. Very heartbreaking story. Very. Hey, True Texan. Always good to see you. Always good to see you. Yeah, see, at least there's so many people that haven't really heard of this story before, but there's another similar situation from Texas. A young teen girl, I believe she was 18 or 19, who gave birth in a hospital restroom to a perfectly healthy, alive, breathing infant baby. And then that baby ended up in a garbage can, not alive. And her trial, she's been charged but has yet to see a courtroom yet. And this seems to happen quite a bit from time to time, but through familial DNA, identifinders, we now know the actual person who's responsible for Geauga's child. I can remember some crowdfunding. I can remember some businesses that were raising money in order to replace the headstone for the baby. And that was heartbreaking. It was absolutely heartbreaking as a mother. The idea of giving birth to a very healthy, breathing, beautiful, tiny infant child, that for whatever reason you fear someone or situations, your parents, maybe a boyfriend, whatever reason, we have laws now that protect you if you want to leave your baby at a fire department, hospital, church, various locations, no questions asked. And why we're not doing that, I'll never understand. But I have 2 stories, like I said, 26, 27 years apart, with 2 very similar situations, but 2 very drastically different outcomes. And I'd like to have a discussion about that if we can. I'm going to start with, hey, Scott H. Always good to see you, Scott H. I hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing really good. Thank you for your help on the Summer Wells case. I'm glad that you've stuck with a lot of this. There's a lot of people I wish wouldn't continue sticking with that case, but I'm glad that you have. I appreciate the work that you put into that very much. Tater This pain is awful. Oh, I hope I missed something. Hold on. Husband got okayed for the cervical spine implant for his spine. Ooh. Wow. I hope everything's good for both of you, especially with the pain. I get it. Oh, my back pain sometimes is so bad. When the rain hits, man, I used to make fun of my grandparents like, oh, you're just saying that. No, you can really feel it in your bones coming. Some ladies still aren't dropping off babies they don't want. I don't get it. Me either. When it's no questions asked, no abandonment charges, no nothing. I mean, it's kind of crazy. So I want to pull up the first story, and I'm not going to ignore chat. I'm going to definitely try to stay up with chat here today. The first story, most of you are probably at least heard of. You may not be completely familiar, but I bet you'll remember. You may not remember the names or the dates, but I feel like you will probably remember the basics of the story. So let me screen share here quick. Bear with me. It's been a while, so I feel like I'm getting reacquainted. First story. We're going to go to Cincinnati, Ohio. So the two stories I'm going to share with you tonight are like your opinion about. Both happen in the Buckeye State, the state of Ohio. First story comes from 2017. We're talking about Brooke Skylar Richardson. And I want to go over the timeline here with you a little bit and then share with you a couple of videos. And then move on to the case that was just recently closed after the familial DNA case that lasted 26 years. And I want to show you the outcome of that one. Double check, make sure you guys are on live chat. Moderators, thanks for being here and helping me. I appreciate it greatly. I do think my StreamYards, oh, here we are. It's a little bit messed up, y'all. And I think Earth was not a moderator, but you are now. I just saw that. Okay. And Lise and Lee, you guys have my number. If you need help with anything, please let me know right away, and we can grab some more. True Texan, I love having you in the chat, buddy. I hope you're doing good. I haven't been over to Queen Bee's for a little bit. Hospitals are no fun. Headaches, migraine, all that. It's no fun. It's not fun. So I'm going to read with you. I'm going to make this full screen. Just go over the timeline of events here just to kind of remember about this case. So we're going to go back to 2017, Lebanon, which is just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. This is a picture here of Brooke Skylar Richardson. She goes by Skylar. Warren County Assistant Prosecutor Stephen Nippen told the jury Wednesday morning that Brooke Skylar Richardson, quote, murdered a baby she didn't want and never intended to keep, end quote. But Richardson's attorney said the baby was white and wasn't moving or breathing when the Carlisle woman gave birth in her home. Trigger warning. We're going to talk about the death of babies and infants, newborns, and what happens after that. So if that's a little too sensitive, I completely understand that. It's hard to hear, hard to read. 7 women and 5 men will decide the fate of the then 20-year-old who was accused of killing her newborn daughter days after her senior prom in 2017, burying the child in her parents' backyard. Nippen defense attorney Charlie Ritgers and several medical professionals and law enforcement officials detailed what they believe happened leading up to and after the death of the newborn and the first day of testimony on Wednesday. Here's the timeline. August 2016, Richardson, who is Brooke, aka Skylar, has a month-long relationship with Trey Johnson. I have a video of his testimony to give you a little more information about this. The state alleges its first witness, 21-year-old Trey Johnson, is the child's father. Johnson said he and Richardson dated for about a month in August 2016. They had sex twice, once without protection. Johnson said Richardson ended the relationship around August 26th before he started his freshman year of college. Richardson then blocked him on all social media accounts. No form of communication. Flash forward, okay, that's August of 2016. Flash forward April 26, 2017. During opening statements, Nippen said Richardson suspected she was pregnant and was, quote, looking for verification, end quote, when she made an appointment at Hilltop Obstetrics and Gynecology for birth control pills. Dr. William Andrew Richardson's OBGYN told her she was about 32 weeks pregnant on April 26th and estimated she would deliver the baby within weeks. When Dr. Andrew spoke with Brooke about her pregnancy, she kept repeating that she cannot have this baby. She was adamant about telling no one that she was pregnant. Andrew said he did an ultrasound to confirm she was pregnant. He showed her the heartbeat because it's helpful to do this with a patient who is having trouble accepting that they're pregnant. Andrew said the ultrasound, although not formal or extensive, did not show anything abnormal. He said Richardson was still upset after the ultrasound, and at one point, she said she can't have a baby because she's going to be going to college in the fall. Andrew said he told her just because she was pregnant did not mean she'd have to raise the baby. And he told her to call him if she had thoughts of harming herself or the baby. Nippen said Richardson never followed up with her doctor. Andrew said he tried to call her after the appointment because the staff member could not reach her, but he was never able to get hold of her. Defense attorney Charlie Ritgers said Richardson, quote, did not know certainly that she was pregnant, end quote, when she went to see Dr. Andrew. I mean, ultrasound, heartbeat, but okay. Ritgers said typical signs a woman would be pregnant, like weight gain, missed periods, wouldn't be abnormal for Richardson. She's had an eating disorder since she was 12, he said, and she's been in and out of treatment ever since. She reacted in utter surprise and shock and genuinely, Ritger said, quote, she reacted like any 18-year-old who's told for the first time that she is certainly pregnant would. If she had this sinister motive to hide and conceal the fact that she was going to kill a child, she wouldn't have reacted like that. It can't be both ways, end quote. During cross-examination, Ritgers asked Andrew if Richardson's reaction to being pregnant was typical of a teenager. Andrew said it was, quote, not outside the realm, end quote, of what he expected. Andrew said he did not believe Richardson was going to hurt the baby. He said if he had a suspicion, he would have called police. Women with eating disorders are more likely to have a stillborn baby, Andrew said. He also said intrauterine growth restriction is also associated with the high risk of having a stillborn baby, but he could not have made that diagnosis at the time. May 5th, the year 2017. Nippen said Richardson went to prom with her boyfriend, Brandon, started having what is described as, quote, super bad cramping, end quote. Richardson told Brandon she had started her period because she was, quote, determined to keep her secret, end quote. Ritger said no one, not even her boyfriend, knew Richardson was pregnant on prom night because she was so small. I have photos to show you. Ritger showed the jury 2 photos of Richardson in her infamous red prom dress. We're talking a mermaid-style dress. The first image was taken in February 2017. The second was taken on prom night. I have close-up, better photos. I'll show you after this. Well, let me pull them up now. Bear with me. I guess it's... There we go. Brooke Skylar Richardson in her prom dress left Richardson on prom night, May 5th, 2017. On the right, at the fitting for the gown, February 15th, 2017. So roughly 2 months apart. 3 months apart. She gave birth the morning of May 7th, 2017. So 2 days after the photo on the left. Then we have a photo. Pull this one up. Skylar Richardson is shown left at 3 months pregnant, and again right 7.5 months pregnant. Her parents shared the photos to illustrate how difficult it was to tell that the then 18-year-old was carrying a baby. She'd struggled with anorexia for years, and her family say they were merely happy she was putting on weight. I'm sure you can hear in my voice the okay. Okay. And I have another photo here. This here, Brooke Skylar Richardson. These photos were used in court to show her at different weights prior to the pregnancy. So she did, like most normal teenage girls, most normal grown women, weight fluctuates, goes up and down. And so, to be fair, those are some photos for reference for the next bit of conversation. May 7th, 2017. A little over a week after her appointment, Richardson delivered the baby by herself in her home without waking up her parents or her brother, according to Nippon. She killed the newborn and buried her in the backyard, according to Nippon. Nippon said Richardson admitted her daughter was alive for 5 minutes and that she might have squeezed her too hard. During an interview with investigators, a detective told Richardson that he didn't think she tried to kill the baby. Ritger said that interrogation illustrates the case is about a, quote, rush to judgment, end quote. He claimed Richardson gave birth to the baby much earlier than she had expected. She didn't know the cramps she had during her prom. A few nights prior were signs that she was going into labor. When she gave birth, the baby was white, the umbilical cord was not attached, and the baby was not breathing or moving, Ritger said. Ritger said Richardson named the baby Annabelle. She then dug a shallow grave with a spade shovel, buried her, and marked the grave with a flower pot. She buried her daughter and marked the grave. She didn't throw her in a trash can. She didn't throw her in a dumpster, Ritger said. May 8th. Nippon said Richardson sent the following text message to her mother, Kim Richardson, the day after she gave birth. Quote, I'm literally speechless with how happy I am. My belly is back. Oh my God. I am never, ever, ever, ever letting it get like this again. You're about to see me look freaking better than ever before. OMG. End quote. I hope I did that justice. Ritger said her mother was very obsessive and she would talk to Richardson in a way that was cheering her on about losing weight. Quote, those texts that we now see after May 7th were Skylar focusing on the only thing she thought she could control at the time, which was her body, end quote. Ritger said the text messages between Richardson and her mother about her body were common for about 6 years. Her weight went up and down constantly, he said, and the people around her did not know she was pregnant. July 12th. Dr. Casey Boyce said she saw Richardson for a July 12th, 2017 appointment. She said Andrew told her before that appointment that Richardson was pregnant the last time he saw her on April 26th. Boyce said Richardson asked for a refill on her birth control, and Boyce asked her about her pregnancy. Quote, she started sobbing, and she said, I had it alone in my house, and I buried it in my backyard, end quote, Boyce said. Boyce said she was, quote, kind of in a state of shock, end quote, when Richardson told her no one knew about the baby or that she had given birth. I said, no one knows, Boyce said. And she said, no. And I said, I'm the first person on the planet you ever told. Richardson said she cleaned everything up, quote, cleaned everything up, buried it in the backyard, and nobody knew, end quote. Boyce said she offered to do a physical examination, but Richardson declined. Hey, Salty, thanks for popping in. Boyce said she told Richardson she should seek counseling because the birth was a traumatic event. Boyce told investigators about 2 years ago that Richardson told her she gave birth in the bedroom of the home, but Boyce said she can't remember those details now. Richardson asked Boyce not to tell anyone. Boyce said she consulted with Andrew after the appointment and they contacted police. July 14th. Deputy Kelly McKay with the Warren County Sheriff's Office was one of the investigators who discovered the remains of the newborn on July 14th. McKay said Richardson was visibly upset when she showed authorities where she had buried the newborn. Hey, Quiz. Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. McKay said, now look, this is a photo of where this baby was buried at. McKay said she and other authorities pulled out some of the vegetation and saw a bone sticking out of the ground. They then dusted the area and found the newborn's skeletal remains in a shallow grave, she said. We just basically dusted, McKay said. There was nothing to dig. It took about 6 hours to select the jury of 12 and 3 alternates on Tuesday. Richardson is charged with aggravated murder, manslaughter, endangering children, tampering with evidence, and abuse of a corpse. Let me read those again because we're going to flash forward to the jury verdict, sentencing, and then what happened after that. Richardson was charged with aggravated murder, manslaughter, endangering children, tampering with evidence, and abuse of a corpse. At the time, the trial was expected to last 2 to 3 weeks. This is an older article. I'm going to drop the link for it in the chat if anybody would like to go back and read any of this. Hey, Lisa Schenkel. Welcome. Glad to see you. Let me check with the chat before we move on to the next article. I know this is a heavy one tonight. I'm really sorry. It wasn't my. I didn't want to make it heavy, but with the recent situation with Geauga's child, I needed something to compare it to, and this is the best case to compare it to. It's a little disheartening. It's a little disheartening how similar the situations are 26 years apart and how vastly different the outcomes are. So that's kind of why we're talking about it tonight. But hey, Quiz and Salty, it's always good to see you guys. Thanks for stopping in. I hope everybody's doing okay. Let me see. If there's any questions or anything like that, just at me so I can see them so that they stick out and then I can see them. So we have a girl, 18, her senior year, finds out she's pregnant, 32 weeks to be exact. A couple months later, we have a deceased newborn baby wrapped up and buried in the backyard. So let's go now to the jury deliberation. And let me make this full screen. Let me know if you can hear this okay. If not, just let me know in the chat. Hit me with the 1 or a 2 or something in the chat if you cannot hear this video very well. Yes. Oh my gosh. I was listening to Sleuth Mom earlier talk about the Harmony Montgomery. Oh man. I'm glad that documents are being unsealed because I know there was so much doubt with what had happened. But on one hand, I'm glad that the wife, Kayla, is finally talking. On the other hand, I hope they bury that bitch under the jail too. Just my personal thought.
A jury convicted the Carlisle woman on abuse of a... As we come on the air tonight, Brooke Skylar Richardson is in jail, but not on a murder charge. A jury convicted the Carlisle woman on abuse of a corpse. Tomorrow morning, she learns her fate. And we were there as the young woman heard the verdict. The jury found her not guilty on the most serious charges she faced. The Carlisle woman broke down in tears while the verdicts were read. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Craig McKee. Tanya O'Rourke has the night off. Now, this is a case that gripped the country, and after 2 years, it's almost done. Jurors found Richardson not guilty of aggravated murder, not guilty of involuntary manslaughter, and not guilty of child endangerment, and guilty of abuse of a corpse. Richardson could face jail time on that charge. Her sentencing is set for 11 a.m. We'll have more on that in just a moment. But first, a look at how we got here and the reaction already pouring in after the verdict. Prosecutors argue Richardson killed and buried her newborn baby in 2017, just days after her senior prom. They claim that she never intended to keep the baby at all, and the defense says that's just not the case, and that baby was stillborn. Prosecutors argued that Richardson wanted to keep her protected and perfect life. The defense said that she was sad and scared. Jurors heard days of testimony from countless witnesses, including doctors who spoke about Richardson's health, her eating disorders, and her disregard for prenatal care. Tonight, prosecutors and the defense are reacting to the verdict. The prosecution believes some jurors think Richardson killed the baby, but they just couldn't prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. 9 on Your Side's Jake Ryle shares the reaction from both sides outside the courtroom.
Well, an emotional day in court as the verdict was read, and emotion spilled over too from both sides, the state and defense providing unique perspectives on the case. This moment in court, 2 years in the making.
We felt very strongly about what we believed happened. The question for us for 2 years has been, will we be able to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt?
A jury made the decision Thursday after 4 hours of deliberating.
This was well overcharged from the get-go, and it was so juicy for the government to think that, oh, not only did she murder her baby, but she burned her baby.
Warren County Prosecutor David Fornshell admitted
they did not have a medical cause of death. It was attributable to Skylar that they did not.
Not being able to prove a medical cause of death was a big deal.
Unfortunately, that probably played a major factor in the outcome that we saw today.
But Prosecutor Fornshell did believe, despite that piece of information, the case could go to trial.
That baby deserved for us to go in there and fight and present the evidence.
A glaring question: was the baby born alive or stillborn? Even after the verdict, two sides remain.
I do believe that she killed her child. As I sit here today, I believe it.
I mean, I really truly believe in my heart of hearts, Skylar had a stillbirth. She's absolutely innocent.
The defense questioned the state's experts and credibility.
I would hope that they would do their what's called due diligence in determining whether or not, in fact, does it make sense what we're dealing with?
Two sides spent 2 years. Fornshell says the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt was simply too much in this case.
You have disappointment anytime you work hard for something and you believe in something, and we do. I mean, I understand why the jury did what they did. I get it.
I believed in the case. I still do. Skylar's innocent.
And the prosecutor's office is hoping to meet with jurors to find out what went wrong and how they felt about the trial. They're hoping to use it as a learning lesson. For now, reporting in Lebanon, Jake Ryle, 9 on Your Side.
So it's my belief, personal belief. Hey, Sleuth Mom, good to see you. It's my personal belief that part of the reason that they were not able to obtain a guilty on the, it was involuntary manslaughter, was because the medical examiner had give 2 different testimonies. First, there was a false admission of trying to burn the remains. That never happened. There was no proof or evidence of that. There was a lot of leading in the interrogation, which after this I'll link in the comments down below. I don't have the link right here with me right now. But the medical examiner had given a couple of different rounds of testimony with the prosecutor and then on cross-examination. But nonetheless, let's go to her sentencing, because this is kind of what got me a little fired up after Geauga's child came out. So let's go to sentencing and let's see what happened there. And then I have a couple of videos of what happened after, which to me shows a very big problem in the state of Ohio when it comes to people and their children.
Forever sorry, and I'm so sorry.
After more than 2 years, the case against Brooke Skylar Richardson came to a close. A judge sentenced her today to 3 years community control supervision for abuse of a corpse.
Yeah. This comes after a jury found her not guilty of the 3 other charges yesterday, including aggravated murder, involuntary manslaughter, and child endangerment.
And 9 on your side, Josh Bazan is live right now outside the Warren County Courthouse, where we heard directly from Brooke Skylar Richardson for the first time today. Josh?
Craig, Kristen, Richardson apologized in court today for upsetting so many people. She also apologized directly to the family of the baby's father. Before delivering his sentence, Judge Donald Oda also spoke directly to Richardson, saying she is still to blame for her daughter's death.
But I think that your choices before birth, during birth, and after show a grotesque disregard for life.
Judge Oda said today in court he believes if Richardson made different decisions before and on May 7th, 2017, her baby would still be alive today.
In all of this mess that we have with this case, I think what often gets overlooked, Ms. Richardson, is just how precious life is. Your life, Annabelle's life is precious.
Richardson's father asked the judge to let his daughter come home as soon as possible so they could help her address an eating disorder and take care of her health. Richardson took a moment to say she's sorry.
I can sometimes be selfish, but I would like to think that I've become better in the knowledge that I've upset everyone and hurt so many people with what I've done. And I'm forever sorry, and I'm so sorry.
Tracy Johnson, the baby's paternal grandmother, says losing that child changed everything for her and her son.
But now instead, every May 7th, I don't get to have a birthday party for my first grandchild. Instead, I get to send her balloons to heaven with notes telling her how much her daddy loves her, how much I love her, how much we all love her, and how much we all wanted her.
The Johnson family did express interest in getting control of the baby's remains. The judge decided those remains would go to the Richardson family after they promised to do a proper burial and allow the Johnson family the ability to visit the gravesite. On top of the 3 years community control supervision, the judge also sentenced Richardson to 7 days in jail, but credited her with time served, allowing her to go home with her family today. Reporting live outside the Warren County Courthouse, Josh Bazan, 9 on your side.
Josh, thank you. And Court TV got an exclusive interview with the lead investigator in the Richardson case. Lieutenant John Fain, who is now retired, interviewed Richardson in July of 2017, more than 2 months after she gave birth.
Biggest concern in the first interview was just she was really adamant about wanting us to know. And even when her parents came in after Officer Gee and I were out of the room, she was very adamant wanting everyone to know, I didn't kill it. I didn't kill it. I didn't kill it. She just kept saying it was very important for her to tell us that she didn't kill it and want us to believe that she didn't do that.
We will have much more from that interview with Fain coming up at 6 o'clock.
So basically 3 years of house arrest. And let me reiterate, make sure I'm not muted. Okay, good. Let me reiterate that this was September of 2019. And let's flash forward to November of 2020. And Brooke Skylar Richardson, who was acquitted last year of most charges in the death of her newborn child, told a judge Tuesday that she wants to, quote, be a normal person again, end quote. That's all, the 21-year-old said during a hearing in Warren County Common Pleas Court. Judge Donald Oda II on Tuesday granted a request by Richardson's attorneys to terminate her probation 2 years early, nearly 2 years early. At a trial last year, a jury convicted Richardson of 1 count, gross abuse of a corpse, and she was sentenced to 3 years of probation. Once again, this person knew that she was pregnant because an OBGYN, after an ultrasound and playing the heartbeat, told her she was pregnant. She gave birth to this child in her bedroom, in the bathroom of her bedroom in her private home, without waking anyone in her family, She then buried the baby in the backyard and went on about her life. She left the comment to her mother in a text message. She's going to get her freaking belly back. And here she is asking to be released from her house arrest, her probation. Let's hear what she has to say in court. This is just giving you this case to compare to the one I really want to talk about tonight. So I'm kind of just giving you the highlights and going over it, but I'm dropping links in the chat for anybody who wants to go back to any of these videos or news articles and read them for yourself.
I just want to make everything right again as much as I can. So I do apologize. And I never know if it's appropriate to reach out because I never know who wants to hear from me. But I am really sorry. I just want to be able to fulfill my educational goals, and with my probation being terminated, I just want to be able to go to law school one day. And so I can become a public defender, and so I was hoping I could get my probation terminated so I could continue to further my educational career and career goals. But again, I understand that it has not been a long amount of time, but I want to be able to contribute to society as much as I can and be able to prove that you made the right decision and giving me the opportunity to go back out into society. So again, I apologize to everyone that I've affected, and thank you.
Let's get off there. It's going to ads. Whoa. StreamYards is crazy tonight. Let me pull that back up. Sorry. I didn't know what it was going to pull up and show, but I didn't want to take any chances. So, okay. Sorry about that, guys. Let me find my spot there. Slither Items. Hello. That's a new name. Hello, welcome. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. Let me read to you the judge's comments at that time. Let me go back to screen share so you can see them. And I did drop the link for this in the chat. Okay. Judge Donald Oda II on Tuesday granted a request by Richardson's attorney to terminate her probation nearly 2 years early. At the trial the year before this, jury convicted Richardson of 1 count, gross abuse of a corpse. She was sentenced to 3 years of probation. Oda said the charge was the lowest level of felony. Richardson had no previous criminal history and followed all the rules of court-ordered supervision, he said. There's no reason for me, quote, there's no reason for me to invest the time and resources of my probation department in supervising you, end quote, Oda said. A sentence of probation, he added, is not punishment or rehabilitation. Oda said it gave Richardson the opportunity to show why she shouldn't go to prison. Richardson was 18 when she was accused of, in 2017, of killing her infant child and burying the body in her parents' backyard. Prosecutors said she did it in secrecy to protect her picture-perfect image. Her attorney said she had a stillbirth and didn't know what else to do. I mean, your parents are right down the hallway. You have a phone to call 911, but okay. In the 14 months since her acquittal, and that's at the date of this article here, Richardson had completed 2 semesters in an unidentified college, worked part-time at the law firm that represented her, Ritgers and Ritgers. She sought other jobs, according to her attorneys, but was rejected because she was on probation. Richardson spoke haltingly at times during Tuesday's hearing and apologized for not showing more remorse, something the family of the child's father said they hadn't seen yet. Quote, I feel a lot of things, but it's hard to show, Richardson said. I suffer a lot. I'm very sorry. I hurt a lot, end quote. She also said she plans to attend law school. She wants to work as a public defender. Quote, I want to contribute to society as much as I can to prove that you made the right decision, end quote, she told Oda. The mother of the child's father on Tuesday asked Oda to have Richardson serve the full 3-year sentence. I mean, that's the least. That's the least. She's at home. She has privileges to come and go, but okay. Tracy Johnson said she doesn't believe Richardson has been rehabilitated. Quote, who goes from nothing to giving birth and burying their own child in secret and then acting like nothing happened until they're caught, Johnson said in court. That's the first bad thing you do, and you show absolutely no remorse for it. Where do you go from there? End quote. I happen to agree with that. At last year's trial, the 2019 trial, a jury found Richardson not guilty of aggravated murder, involuntary manslaughter, and child endangerment. I mean, child endangerment? There are people in the community, Oda told Richardson, who believe you got away with murder. He called that the perception of the case. But the reality, Oda said, is that the conviction is for a low-level felony. You are employed, you are attending college, he said, adding that he had no reason to believe she would commit any crimes in the future. Good luck to you, he said. What do you think about that? I mean, wow. And then it gets worse. Let me pull up the last one that I have for you. Again, coming out of the Cincinnati Enquirer. Great paper. They do not require online subscriptions. Let me pop the link here in the chat for this. Salty says, I agree. She should have served the whole time. Absolutely. Do stupid things, win stupid prizes. She needed to be held accountable. I could not agree more. Could not agree more. Tater says, I hope she never has any babies. Sorry, not sorry. She doesn't deserve any. I mean, I agree. I agree. Your parents are right down the road. You know, very right down the hall. Your parents are right down the hall. 911 is right down the road. This is a very tiny community, very small community. Hey, Sleuth Mob, thank you. My brother bought me a microphone and a new headset and all of the things. And yeah, I put them to use tonight. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. So it gets better. Okay. So not only was she, was she given three years of probation. Hey, KB, good to see you. Always so good to see you. I hope that you're doing good and that the boys are doing good and everybody's wonderful. But let's look at this part here. So probation was terminated. Oh, I think I grabbed the wrong one. Oops. I told you it's been a while, huh? Here it is. Here's the next one. So this is the most recent that's come up. Let me drop the link here. This goes to the last in this, and then I want to get to the real reason why I wanted to talk about Geauga's baby, Geauga's child. Also from the same state of Ohio. So here we go. So this comes from October 2022. Brooke Skylar Richardson, who was acquitted in 2019 of most charges in the death of her newborn child, has successfully, sealed the record of her conviction. Warren County Common Pleas Judge Donald Oda II signed the order Monday. The general public will no longer be able to see records of a jury convicting Richardson of one count of gross abuse of a corpse. By all means, that's what you're worried about. Wow. Following her conviction on the felony, Richardson was sentenced to 3 years probation. Oda granted a request the previous year, to end her probation nearly 2 years early. Richardson, 18 when she was accused. Remember these ages. She was 18 when she was accused in the 2017 killing her infant child and burying the body in her parents' backyard. Prosecutors said she did it in secrecy to protect her picture-perfect image. Her attorney said that she had a stillbirth and didn't know what else to do. The jury acquitted her on charges of aggravated murder and involuntary manslaughter. Since the end of her trial, we've already said that she's attended college, worked for the law firm, blah, da, yada, yada. But now she wants her records sealed. Can you imagine that? She wants her records sealed. And the judge granted that. In his order, Oda wrote that Richardson, quote, has been rehabilitated to the satisfaction of the court, end quote. Well, I'm really glad to know that you don't set the bar very high when it comes to standards, but okay. Prosecutors in the case opposed to the effort to seal the records. Stephen Nippen, the same prosecutor that tried her in court, Warren County Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, said sealing Richardson's records would diminish the seriousness of her offense. In the ruling, Oda wrote Richardson's interest in this matter outweighs the state's need to maintain the records. So she basically got away with harming her child. She basically got away with that. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but hey, blessings to all. Good to see you. But it made me sick to my stomach. I mean, it just really made me sick to my stomach. And then came Geauga's child. So we're going to go back in time about 26, 27 years. And we're going to talk about Geauga's child. And a little bit of genetic genealogy, which I'm completely fascinated by. But it's just a personal statement, I guess. Let's see. So the previous case we're talking about is between Dayton and Cincinnati. So let's go up by Cleveland. And let me screen share this. Geauga's child. I want to tell you, I remember several years ago that there was a lot of funding, a lot of fundraisers, a lot of crowdsourcing for raising the money to replace a headstone for baby Doe, and later named Geauga's child. This monster is the person responsible. So this is going to go back to March of 1993. Let me read a little bit of this before we go through the video. Closing arguments concluded shortly before 10:30 a.m. Monday in the decades-old Geauga's child case. Jury's been given their instructions as deliberations begin. Situation dates back to March 25th, 1993, when a baby boy's body was found in a trash bag along Sidley Road. Trigger warning for what's coming up, guys. I understand it's sensitive and very heavy, and some people, it may be too much for you. So if it is, I apologize, but please don't put yourself through it. It's not worth your mental health. You'll find in the description the contact information for mental health in the United States. Please use those if need be. But I'm not offended, and neither is anybody else. When you put yourself first, you have to take care of you. The case remained cold for years until Gail Eastwood Ritchie of Euclid was arrested in June of 2019. Authorities say she was identified through familial DNA that was matched to that of Geauga's child. Eastwood Ritchie has been charged with aggravated murder and murder in the case. What follows are updates throughout the trial. Videos below contain graphic content, and I can attest that they do. It's hard to hear. If you're a mother, if you want to be a mother, if you've struggled to become a mother, it's going to be difficult to hear. Because this monster didn't unalive one newborn child, but two a couple of years apart, and went 26 years before being caught. April 4th, 2022, we're closing arguments. Let me go back up here and play this video for you first to start with. We don't want the recipe, do we? Nope.
We do want to get started now with the latest on the Geauga child's trial. The woman's fate is now in the hands of the jury. And at this hour, the jury is still deliberating in the case of Gail Eastwood Ritchie, who is on trial for murder in the death of Geauga's child. You may remember that in March of 1993, the body of a baby boy was found in a trash bag along Sidley Road. In 2019, Eastwood Ritchie was arrested, linked to the child through familial and DNA. Isabel Lawrence has been following the case for us today and is at the Geauga County Courthouse now. Isabel?
Yeah, hi, Jay and Betsy. So closing arguments ended just before noon today. And like you said, ever since then, this jury has been deliberating. It's been hours now. Now, we do want to warn you, some of the details that we're about to share may be disturbing to some viewers. A large focus of those closing arguments today was on the fact of whether or not this baby was born alive or if this baby was a stillbirth. Now, the state argued that the baby was in fact born alive and that Eastwood Ritchie knew that when she put him in a garbage bag and drove to the woods. They also argued that in getting the garbage bag to put the baby in, there was a plan in place showing prior calculation. However, the defense argued that Eastwood Ritchie didn't see the baby move or hear it make a sound, and that in fact it was a stillbirth, meaning she did not kill this baby.
But she doesn't remember this extremely important incident, giving birth to a child, and she doesn't remember, was he moving, was he breathing? That's because she does remember. The child was born alive.
That she perceived, rightly or wrongly, but reasonably perceived that it was a stillborn baby. And she then put the baby's body in a garbage bag. Then she is not acting with the specific purpose or intent to cause that baby's death.
Now, it's been about 5 hours since the jury has been deliberating. They're still inside deliberating right now. And we did ask people inside the courthouse here if there was an end time or a stop time per se as to when we can expect the jury to end deliberations for the night. They told us that it's really in the hands of the jury right now and how long they wish to continue deliberating this evening. So we will continue to follow it from the courthouse here. Live in Geauga County, Isabel Lawrence, 3 News.
All right, Isabel, we'll stay on top of it.
So I want to give you a little backstory on this specific case. So this woman, Gail, I have a hard time calling her mother. Gail, today is married to the same man that both of the, she's 3 children that are living and healthy and wonderful and moving forward with their life. And the first 2 babies, 2 pregnancies, she had 2 babies in 2 bathrooms, wrapped them in trash bags, and threw them out into the garbage. One of them in a wooded area close to a church camp that she went to as a child. As a teenager, became a counselor there. And the other inside the city between 2 medical buildings after the baby was kept in her car for a couple of days. So there's really no way to prove that these babies were born not alive, but it goes without saying, why not call 911? Why not reach out for help? So let me share with you. She's still married to this man, and he's standing beside her. So I want to show you how they were able to solve the case. And then I want to show you a little bit about her interrogation video to show you what, lack of remorse actually looks like, because this woman had none. Not sorry, no remorse, no excuses, just I did what I did. Okay. Very heartbreaking, KB. Very heartbreaking. Oh, we got
The mother of Geauga's child is set to face a judge tomorrow. The 26-year-old cold case gripped Northeast Ohio, finally solved just weeks ago. The Geauga County Sheriff says Gail Eastwood Ritchie confessed to abandoning a newborn baby along a country road back in 1993. Investigator Sarah Goldenberg breaks down the timeline of the case for us tonight.
March 25th, 1993, a cold, snowy day in Thompson Township. Two newspaper delivery drivers make a shocking discovery on Sidley Road.
I don't know how anybody could do that. It's awful. Wish we could have found it alive. Just hope they find who did it.
A baby boy dead in the road with his umbilical cord still attached, missing an arm and a leg, possibly mauled by animals. 26 years later,
Right,
after
KB,
she
it
learned
was
the case
crazy.
was finally solved, we spoke to the woman who found him again.
I always think about him.
Hey,
I never
blessings.
forgot that day. I mean, it's burned in my memory. Every step of that day.
The community rallied together as detectives tried to figure out the identity of this baby boy and who left him to die in the bitter winter cold. Here's the detective on the case.
I'm not looking out to crucify anybody, but I just want to know why and what happened.
But as time passes, still no answers. Just a headstone calling the baby Geauga's child. 10 years pass and detectives are still trying to crack the case using new DNA technology.
In principle, DNA from one cell, from one hair cell, is sufficient to do all the testing that's needed.
But after checking the DNA against a law enforcement database, nothing turns up. Another decade goes by and still Geauga's child remains a mystery. June 6, 2019, finally, the day everyone has been waiting for, a break in the case.
She admitted that she had birthed the child, placed him in a trash bag, and left him in a wooded area.
49-year-old Gail Eastwood Ritchie of Euclid, the baby's mother, arrested on murder charges.
Her reaction was that she had not even thought about this until we brought it up. She completely put it out of her mind. She always referred to the baby as an it.
So how did detectives finally find her? In September 2018, forensic experts started searching genetic DNA.
So we started with a 1,400-person family tree and essentially narrowed it down piece by piece till we got to the mother.
Since 1993, we learn Eastwood Ritchie went on to have her own family. She married the father of Geauga's child and has 3 adult children. The sheriff says she hid the pregnancy from them, which is why nobody else is facing charges.
And I don't know how you could, wake up the next morning like that, let alone 26 years later and raise a family and go on like a normal person. I don't know how you do that.
Sergeant Thomas Dewey with the Geauga County Sheriff's Office was the first on the scene. Now, closure for him after a career spent working to solve this case.
I says, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. And he says, yeah, we did. And she admitted to it too. And I says, oh.
He retired 14 years ago, but never forgot Geauga's child.
I mean, there's some vicious people out there.
Just want to take a moment to say the credit for this headstone, this beautiful headstone here that's engraved, personalized, did not come from her or her family. This came from our community that crowdsourced. We did fundraisers, the whole 9 yards. There's videos and photos I'll link after this live ends of funeral service where police officers and firefighters were caretakers of the casket that held this tiny infant's little remains in this headstone. And all of that was purchased, paid for, and funded by our community, not her. Just want to make that clear.
And this was the vicious of the vicious.
Gail Eastwood Ritchie is scheduled for a pretrial hearing tomorrow at 3 p.m. She has pleaded not guilty and she posted bail. Eastwood Ritchie also admitted to a similar crime with a baby born 2 years before Geauga's child in Cuyahoga County. That case is still under investigation. Sarah Goldenberg, 19.
Okay, now I want to show you. I hope everybody's doing okay. If not, listen, I completely understand that. The only reason I wanted to talk about this tonight was because we have two very similar situations, 26 years apart, with two completely different outcomes. I'll tell you my feeling on it after the fact. But right now I want to show you how her interrogation went, how her confession went, how she confessed to two murders of two newborns. And I understand if you can't stick around, this one is very difficult. This one is very difficult. So I'm going to take you to a channel called Rottweiler Investigations. And moderators, if you could graciously grab this link and drop it in the chat. It's called Rottweiler Interrogations. And here's the link for the video. I'm going to pin it to the top. Let's see. It's a wonderful channel. It has a lot of interrogations. I've been getting into these, all the drama and stuff like that, like before, hospital stuff. I was really getting into interrogations, things like that. And this is one of the channels that I found that has a ton of information on it without all of the, Hollywooded features and so forth. So I have some timestamps here. 12 minutes, 25 seconds. So the first timestamp, she's going to actually talk about this baby being born. Hey, Fizzle. Oh, good. I'm really glad. This is from my community, my hometown community. And yeah, I couldn't believe more people are not talking about this. I mean, it barely hit the local news just, a few months ago. It takes a while to kind of sit on it and kind of really get it, but I'm glad that you did. And you're so beautiful, by the way. I'm so glad to have met you and gotten to know you a little better. So I'm gonna play a little bit of this part of her interrogation. What stuck out to me was how nonchalant she's talking about. I mean, any of us who have birthed a child, gone through labor and delivery, or witnessed labor and delivery, I don't understand the nonchalant. I mean, it's either the greatest day of your life or like one of the worst days of your life with, the most amazing gift for all the suffering. But her body language, and I'm not a body language expert, I'm a mom. And so there were so many things about her words, her body language. There's so many things that were just like, how? I have friends, family members who suffered, all of the labor and delivery. And then unfortunately, a stillborn child. And I mean, I can't understand this woman's reactions, even 26 years later. I mean, you asked me about the day Cody was born, and I'm stoked to talk about it. The pain comes after the fact. This woman, I mean, I agree, Fizzle. It gets worse the more she talks, 100%. So let me play a little bit of this. She's going to talk now about the day that the baby was born. And again, this comes from Rottweiler Interrogations, and we'll be dropping that link. It's pinned to the top. Please go check out this channel. They're pretty great, pretty wonderful.
I honestly do not remember the date or the day when the baby was born. I do know it was in winter.
First off, how many people can honestly say, even in this situation, they don't remember the date? You don't remember the date that this very traumatic, unassisted birthing of a child from your body happened in a bathroom on a winter day. You don't remember the date? Oh, okay. I'm not buying that shit, not for a minute. But I agree, KB. She did not plan to even mention a second child. And I don't know that they had evidence of a second child. I kind of wonder if maybe her nonchalantness, if that's a word, nonchalantness, about them basically saying, hey, man, we got 1,400 people in your family. We've done the familial DNA. Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick nailed it to you. And we know there's more. Do you think she would have admitted to being more? I don't think that she would have. I really don't think that she would have. As a matter of fact, let's show how nonchalant she was in the very beginning, and then we'll go to that first timestamp, because this is what got me pissed off and fired up about this bitch right here, not giving a shit about what she did.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing? Good. Listen, Geauga County Sheriff's Office. We just want to see if we can talk to you for a couple minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You have any idea what we want to talk to you about? Because I kind of think you might.
Well, my parents said that you were at their house.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think that's about?
It was about a baby.
Yeah. What about?
Y'all, earlier when I was going back through this, I was looking for timestamps and I had it sped up. Let me put this back on normal and go back 10 seconds. Sorry about that. I'm kind of a hot mess today because it's been a while since I've streamed, and you know how it is. So let me go back to this.
My parents said that you were at their house.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think that's about?
It was about a baby.
Yeah. What about?
A baby that was left.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about it? We're not here to judge you, Gail. We don't know what was going on at the time. We don't want to speculate either, okay? So I don't think you want us to speculate. We're not here to arrest you, okay? We are here to take your DNA, okay? And we would like for you to tell us your side of the story, because we'd like to know. As of right now, you're not under arrest. You're not going to be arrested today. But we want to know what was going on. I think after 26 years, it's time. Don't you? It's had to be weighing on you.
I agree, Fizzle. Never thought this day would happen.
Should we go inside?
Well, what we'd like to do is get your DNA, okay? And then we would like for you to come back to our sheriff's office so that we can talk. You're not being arrested, okay? But we need to sit down and we need to hear your side of the story. Okay?
Okay, so obviously she agrees to, but because they have the warrant for DNA, they stand in the driveway here and they do the buckle swabs on both sides and obtain her DNA, and then she gets in the back seat and they strap her in and down to the dinger they go. Skip forward to 12 minutes, 25 seconds. So here's where she's going to talk about
Meet your next pillow.
the day.
Why do we make our pillow in the shape of a cube?
Don't you love ads? I freaking love ads. Not really. She's going to talk about the day that this child was born. Lee said, when I was 12, I have a relative who gave birth to a stillborn, and she lived with us for months because she couldn't deal with everyday life until she was ready. Hearing her crying was heartbreaking. Oh, I can imagine. I can so imagine. I'll share something personal right now because of that, of what you shared, Lee. I can tell you at least 2 times, I'm sure that there were more, that I was asked, did I think that it would be worse if Cody had been stillborn or had never survived labor and delivery? And the context in which I was being asked that question was obviously having a child with memories and seeing him achieve so many goals and, just grow out to be such an amazing person with so many good memories, very few negative memories. Would that be easier or harder than living with the what if, living with what would my child's personality have been like? Would he have accomplished? Would he have not accomplished? And I can't really answer that question because I've never been in the other side of those shoes. I've never been in that position of wondering what if until, he was 21. And by then I feel like he was, an adult, independent, physically, financially, and in all of the ways that our children grow up to be adults. But he was so wonderful and so amazing that I can't imagine, I don't want to imagine life hitting him negatively. But I have tried to put myself in the shoes of someone who doesn't have the memories that I have. And it's so hard for me to think about that. It's extremely difficult for me to think about what if he never existed in my life. I think either way, it's very difficult. It's a very, very difficult life. I think either way, this woman's reactions just to me do not appear to come from a place where mothers reside. It's hard for me to imagine being a mother. And you have to remember, she gave birth to 2 children that she alleges were stillborn. But regardless of if they were stillborn or not, she put them in trash bags and then tossed them like they were garbage. But she went on to have 3 other children that are adults now. And so when she's being interrogated and asked these questions, she is a mother. She has raised children. All of the experiences that come with being a mother, breastfeeding, bottle feeding, first steps, all of those things, she's experienced 3 different times. So we're not talking about watching an interrogation of someone who had these terrible tragedies, whether self-induced or not, and then never had children. She's still with the same man. She had 3 children with him, and she lives, she's lived a successful life as a wife and a mother since then. And so to me, I guess I would probably be a lot more empathetic if there were no children in the future. But like Fizzle says in the chat, imagine finding out that your mother did this and you're an adult. I mean, imagine that. But while you're watching her interaction with these officers, think about that she went on to have 3 other children. And yes, you're right, Fizzle. The one that's right. The one infant was found, and they were able to do an autopsy, and there was air in the lungs, and the alveoli of the lungs had been expanded, and so that was confirmation that that baby had breathed. So the baby was born alive. The other we don't know. And yeah, her reasons are incredibly selfish. She's an incredibly selfish human being. I think my point about her having the 3 other children, it was so hard to hear her interrogation so far in the future from the time that she, killed at least one of 2 newborn babies. Then went on to experience, a joyous motherhood with 3 others. It's just heart-wrenching. So trigger warning again, if this is too much, I totally get it. I totally get it. I just think Geauga's child deserves a little bit of, I don't even know what to call it. I don't even have a word for it. There's no happy ending here. So it's not a happy ending. A little bit of justice, a little bit of like, hey, this is who I am. These 1,400 familial DNA connections. These are the people that did this to me. I think maybe that, but I don't really know the word. My brain, I have aneurysms. My words don't come easy sometimes.
Honestly, do not remember the date or the day when baby was born. I do know it was in winter. I was at work. I was a nanny for a family in Shaker Heights. I was waiting for them to come home from school. I hadn't been feeling well at all that day.
Can you guys hear that okay, or do I need to mess with the sound settings a little bit? She said she was a nanny, to top it off. She was a nanny, and she was working. So she was at a residence waiting for children to get off the bus for her to take care of. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I tried to set up all the settings and stuff.
The next thing I knew, I was giving birth to a baby in the toilet. I didn't know what to do. kids haven't gotten home from school yet.
Okay.
The only thing I can think of is to put the baby in a bag. I have no idea what the sex was. I never looked at it. I took it out to my car and placed it in the trunk. And I cleaned up the bathroom.
So if you didn't hear her very clearly, she said she put the baby in a bag and then she put the baby in the trunk. She said she didn't look to see what sex the baby was. I find that very hard to believe. Very hard to believe. I know people that have given birth and immediately their babies went to an adoptive parent. Immediately. And the first thing that they did was ask boy or girl. Even if they knew boy or girl, the first thing that they asked was boy or girl. She didn't look. Exactly, Fizzle. Didn't look, but mind you, the baby was alive. No regard for life whatsoever. Didn't look in its eyes, nothing. Absolutely. Just put it in a bag, took it out to the car, put it in the trunk, went back in and cleaned up the bathroom. I mean, to me, that's so unbelievable. But it's her story, so we'll go on and listen to a little more of her telling the story. Again, she doesn't remember what date. She doesn't remember what time, but she knows it was before 3:30 when the kids get off the bus. Hey, Sleuth Mom.
Was the baby still in a bag at that time? Or did you put it in something else? Like a garbage bag?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I went on with the rest of the evening with the kids. Then I went home.
Where were you living at the time?
My parents. I was still
on
at home.
Harwich there?
Yes. I wasn't sure what to do. No one knew.
So let's skip ahead to 27 minutes where she goes into a little bit more detail. And again, trigger warning, I understand this is a little difficult to hear. As a matter of fact, let me pop that across the bottom just in case. I definitely don't want to trigger anybody who's struggling with anything. So we're going to skip ahead to about 27 minutes and some seconds where she goes into a little more detail.
So you think it was that year in '93 when you moved into the house?
I don't remember what year it was.
But it was cold and snowy.
I guess it could have been at the end of '92, maybe December of '92, but the kids would have been home for Christmas break, so it must have been January of '93.
January of 93, somewhere around there, that the baby was actually born.
Yes,
Okay. Were you active sexually with anybody else besides Mark prior to that?
I was not.
No. So you're confident that Mark is the father?
Her father, yes.
Okay. Now, getting back to the like how the baby was born and placed in the bag, the umbilical cord was cut. It was not still attached.
I did not cut it.
Well, how did that umbilical cord get cut then?
I don't know. I didn't cut it.
You didn't cut it?
No,
You're positive of that?
I am.
I mean, obviously, we're talking about 26 years, so there's, as you said, that, some things that you're not real
Yes, I
sure.
understand.
But there's no possible way that you cut that umbilical cord.
Almost certain I didn't.
Almost certain I
Is it
didn't.
possible, or are you positive that you didn't cut that umbilical cord?
Here's the next part that's important. Love you, Lise.
Because there's a couple of things, Gail, you've told us a lot, but there's a couple of things that I am kind of struggling with. And some of that is to do with the baby, because, a full autopsy was done. The baby was found, obviously, that's clear now. And the umbilical cord was cut, and the coroner's report can show that the baby was born alive, and that the baby had taken breaths. So that tells me that the baby was moving, and there had to be some type of screaming or something that you heard or saw. And I don't know if that's just something that you don't want to remember, obviously due to the circumstances.
It's possible, but I really don't remember it ever making a sound.
How about in the bag? Was it still moving around in the bag? Or had it kind of maybe drowned in the toilet? Or was it still kind of moving around in the bag? Well, I can tell you it didn't drown in the toilet because it didn't have water in its lungs.
No, I don't think it stayed in the toilet long before I put it in the bag.
So even in the bag, it's got some oxygen in there. It's breathing. It's taking some breaths. It's probably moving. It's got to be making some kind of noise.
I really don't remember it making noise. I really don't.
Do you remember the bag making any noise? Was the bag moving, crinkling?
Completely, Irish gal. Completely.
Not that I'm aware of. I suppose it could have been when I put it in the car.
But either in the toilet or when you quickly put it in the bag, it had to be making some kind of noise or moving around. But ultimately, due to your condition at the time, your intention was no matter what, you weren't going to keep this baby.
I didn't know what to do.
You didn't know what to
So they just told her. Settings change. Sorry about that. If you have earbuds in, I apologize for that. So they just told her. Yeah, she says it the whole time. So they just told her that there was an autopsy done, and the baby was born alive. They told her that the umbilical cord was cut, and she's at, I don't recall that I cut the umbilical cord. She's still sitting here kind of, in my opinion, it's like playing mental mouse with the detectives who clearly know their shit and know what they're talking about. It's undermining law enforcement's ability to do their job and tell you, like, they're like, we know what you did, lady. I can understand being afraid, but we're talking about a baby. We're talking about an infant. We're talking about a newborn. The most vulnerable of vulnerable. And yeah, I agree. She's saying less to see what they know. When they say, the autopsy, we've got the autopsy results. We know that this baby was born alive. This baby was breathing. The umbilical cord was cut. Let's hear what her excuse was. Let's go to 38 minutes and 9 seconds. We're close to there. Again, this video comes from Rottweiler Interrogations, a wonderful channel. They're pinned at the top of the link. Please, 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 please give them some attention and some comments, because I think that they're doing a wonderful job over there with these interrogations. I am obsessed with interrogations right now, and obsessed. If you have a channel that you do interrogations, or if you have, if there's a channel that you watch of interrogations or, court trials or anything like that, please drop them in the chat, email them, hit one of the mods with them. Let's drop them in the chat there. I think that's another version of true crime that, is without drama and stupidity and people like Tiffany Marie running their mouth and just fucking shit up all the time. My personal opinion. So 38 minutes. So let's see why she says she did this.
Together, and then you got married in 94.
Yeah.
Thank you, Quiz.
So how do you think he would have taken it at the time? What do you think he would have said? Were you afraid that he was going to leave you? What was your concern with telling Mark?
Thank you, Lise.
I can understand you said your dad didn't want you to have kids out of wedlock.
It was probably, yes, I was probably afraid that he would leave.
So Mark is the husband that she's married to currently. That was her boyfriend at this time when Geauga's child, was born alive, placed into a trash bag, tied closed, tossed into the back of the trunk of a vehicle, and then driven out to a wooded area and, tossed into the woods like garbage. The same man that she married. So in this interrogation, she says, well, I was afraid he would leave me. Women. We are so beyond the time period where your worth was dependent upon the family that you married into, or how much your partner's paycheck was, what their W-2 showed at the end of the year. We are so beyond this time period that we can own land, we can have bank accounts, we can have jobs, we can make our own decisions, we can, all of the things that the suffragette movement was about. And so to sit here and say, I'm afraid that the man was going to leave me. Are you kidding me? You married him and had 3 living children with him. You didn't. So 2 of his children you killed, but 3 of them you didn't. But at this time, in your grown ass state, you're going to sit here and say you were afraid he was going to leave you. I can't make sense of this. And this is what I was talking about earlier. I can understand if this was shortly after she had, committed her crime. But it's not. This is 26 years after she murdered her baby, her newborn baby. I was afraid he was going to leave me. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening.
I want nothing to do with us.
And what makes you think that about Mark? You'd obviously known him for quite some time.
That is true. I think I was afraid also for what his family would think. So I always go to the worst scenario and not the best scenario.
And what was the worst scenario in your mind?
Him leaving me.
Him leaving you. That was the worst scenario.
Wow.
And you didn't want him to leave you. So
that was the worst scenario for her. Not that her child didn't survive, not that the baby died, not that, let's be real, like, Not that she was going to get caught and go to jail. It was that he would leave her. I can't even summons the weak woman sympathy, like that she's so weak, or doesn't have the self-esteem, and so she's so dependent on him forever. I can't even gather that from somewhere and put it in my head to make that make sense as to her reactions. I just can't. I can't do that. I can't give her a pass. Like I can't give Brooke Skylar Richardson a pass for her crimes either. I can't do it. But let's go to 4313, where there's another telling little statement here. Yeah, if Lisa, bitch, please. If he did leave you, he wasn't worth it. That's right. The suffragette. Come on. Women were murdered for our freedoms, for the ability to think and live and be as ourselves and not have to, not have our value determined by the successes of a man. We are independent women who are capable, and this is pathetic. This is a disgrace. I don't want her to be called a woman. I don't want her in our classification. I want her under the freaking jail where she belongs.
Or even when you found out that you were pregnant, you had never been to a doctor or anything like that?
Fizzle, you read my mind. When I first started watching this, all I could think about were her sons who are grown now. My sympathy and empathy went to her sons, not to her. I thought, first, oh my gosh, could you imagine finding out this was your mother, or that your mother had committed such a heinous, vile, disgusting, grotesque crime against your sibling of full blood? Not that that would matter, but going along with that, after that, as I'm watching the interrogation and I'm realizing this woman just has nothing in her that I can relate to. I can't relate to the mom in her. I can't relate to the wife in her. I can't relate to the woman in her. Can't relate to a daughter in her. I can't relate to anything of her. Nothing. I would love to know how her sons are, her grown sons are. I would love to know that they're okay and that they're not owning any of this. But at the same point, I'm not Bullhorn Betty or MGL or JLR or any of those cretins that go out and violate people's privacies and things like that. So I hope that they're good. I hope that they're good.
Did you think about seeing a doctor?
No.
Was it something that came up in your mind, like maybe I should see a doctor? Obviously, for a couple months, you knew you were pregnant.
Right. I didn't. No, I didn't know who to go see, who to contact.
So for basically the last 26 years, you've just kind of kept this bottled up inside?
Yeah.
Now, without watching all of this, I would have never believed that. Never. I would have never believed that she kept this secret for her whole life. But watching her demeanor stay the same throughout this whole interrogation, and then watching her trial, watching her sentencing and all of this stuff, I do believe that she kept it to herself 100%. I believe she never told a soul. I believe it didn't bother her. I believe she didn't think about it. I believe it was blase. There's even a part later where they mention her dumping spot, right? Where she took the baby down a side road next to a church camp that she attended as a child, and then became a camp counselor, and took her children, her 3 living children, to every summer. And they said, did it bother you even going by there? And she said, no, didn't even think about it. I mean, I don't think that she told anybody. I think she was almost elated and happy and, joyful that, out of sight, out of mind. And I don't say that lightly. I say that like, you are a freaking monster, lady. You're a monster. Now we're going to get into the part. Okay. I'm a boy mom. And so had my son ever, followed through with getting married and having a baby and giving me the joy of being a grandmother and all of those wonderful things that we look forward to in life. I couldn't imagine not knowing, when they ask her, did your husband, at the time boyfriend, you didn't tell him? You didn't think he had a right to know? Listen to her answer. It pissed me off. It made me mad. I'm a boy mom. Like, what you talking about? Just because my son wouldn't carry the child doesn't mean he's not as responsible and in love and happy and protective and all of those things as what, mom is. That's just me. Let's see. 45. Let's go to 45.
Sure, he'll be upset.
Do you think he deserved any decision back then? Or any right to know and be a part of that decision that you made for the two of you?
Please stop it.
Back then, I didn't know what to do. Today, it's a whole different.
I understand that you may have made a different choice knowing what you know now, but do you think that it doesn't really answer the question? Do you think that he deserved the right to have a choice in that decision that you made for the two of you?
Yeah.
What do you think his choice would have been back then if he would have known?
That's a good question, Tater.
May have been accepting of it.
But he wasn't really given that opportunity.
So for her, it's kind of like, I didn't really think I needed to tell him. Like, imagine being so selfish, so utterly selfish, that your fear of losing a man, losing a man, having a man walk away from you for a heinous, disgusting, unforgivable crime that you committed against him by killing his newborn child that he allegedly knew nothing about, that fear outweighs the loss of man, that fear outweighs even telling him that he was a father. I can't, for the life of me, I understand there's people who don't care about doing the right thing. Like, that doesn't even register with them. It's like, what's going to be the easiest thing for me to do, or what do I get out of it? Okay, that's their decision making. We know a lot of them right here on this platform. I can't relate to that because doing the right thing is always going to be more important than doing the easy thing. But imagine your fear of losing a man, or at least this is her excuse, having a man leave you is more important to you. Keeping hold of that man is more important than telling him that you were pregnant by him. And Tater has a great question. Did the people she worked for not notice anything? So how many people protected her? So later in the interrogation, she explains, the sympathy. Please have sympathy for me comes out. And she says she was never pretty. She was always thick. She says chunky or overweight. She uses various terms that I don't like when it comes to talking about women. Body shaming is absolutely disgusting, but it's what she does to herself as an excuse. She doesn't really ever answer any questions about who would have known. Did her family know? Did her friends know? She kind of, and at this time, she's, at the time that this happened, let's remember, she was 18 or 20 years old. I believe she was 20 years old, and then the second time she was 22. But I'm gonna double check that before I give you as fact. she has all kinds of excuses. She wasn't close with her family. She worked a lot of hours. I would say it's possible that nobody noticed, but it would be very difficult to believe that. I mean, but I can't find an answer definitively on if anyone questioned it. I think one of the ways that she got caught was either someone at the camp or a neighbor of either a place where she worked or where she lived had said, "Hey, I thought that girl was pregnant, but I never did see or hear anything about a baby." And so that got police kind of in her direction. But 1,400 family members later, they find out that it's definitely her. So the first sign of not having any remorse or guilt is at 50 minutes and 47 seconds. We'll hear this. Absolutely,
I think
Fizzle.
so.
He
It's
should have
something
known.
this is a very traumatic experience, and this is not something that goes away. This is something that, you know, obviously has been in your mind for.
Not only were they together for years by that point, but they've been sexually active for at least 2 years by that point. And yeah, and he's older. I think 3 or 4 years older. So yeah, you would think if anyone would have known that it would have been him. And later we find out that he did know about a pregnancy, not sure which one of the two. And she told him that she had a miscarriage and he just never asked about it. He didn't want to bring it up. Kind of one of those grief things that we've talked about on this channel where people don't really ever say like, "How are you doing?" It's more like, "Hey, how you doing?" It's not really a "How are you doing?" Like they don't really want to hear the answer to that. It's more of like a "Hi." And you know, "Don't tell me anything I want to know about it. I'm not going to talk about it. It's too sad." And blah, blah, blah. Kind of like that. But she does say that, or his interrogations, they come back and they tell her, "Well, we talked to him and he says that you told him that you had a miscarriage and then he never brought it back up." But here's her first sign of not GAF.
I think so.
It's something that this is a very traumatic experience, and this is not something that goes away. This is something that, you know, obviously has been in your mind for the past 26 years. I can't imagine a day has gone by that you haven't thought about it.
Well, not ever knowing if the baby was found, I didn't.
So you never saw, I mean, there was news articles, newspapers, news stories, even up until 2016. There were news stories on WKYC and different news, and there was, you know, reward posters and all kinds of stuff. They had a ceremony for the baby.
I did not know.
You never heard that throughout the years.
I did not.
So in the beginning of that little short clip, they're like, let me go back to where I have it pulled up. They said, "This is a very traumatic experience. This is not something that goes away. This is something that, you know, obviously has been in the back of your mind for the past 26 years. I can't imagine a day has gone by that you haven't thought about it, not even knowing if the baby was found." And there is a 6, 7, 8, 9-second pause where she says nothing and moves her head not at all. And then the interrogator says, "Not even knowing if the baby was found? You never saw?" I mean, there was news articles, newspapers, news stories. Even up until 2016, there were news stories on WKYC and different news. And there was, you know, reward posters and all kinds of stuff. They had ceremony for the baby. You never heard that throughout the years. It did not. What you did, you didn't find out. And she says, "No, I didn't know." Like you didn't even look, you know? Yeah, she seems very detached. And I guess my question is, how is it possible? I mean, okay, so let's devil's advocate. You haven't said anything to anybody. You haven't told anybody. It's your deepest, darkest secret. All of the things, all the fears, all of those things are real and legitimate. And now you're sitting down with 2 interrogators who clearly know that this is your baby. I mean, they have the DNA. They've told you this. You're spilling your guts. Could you be more uninvolved in the conversation? I mean, I guess I feel like I would be at my most emotional moment at that point, like, I don't know, like a physical release of all of the 26 years that I've been holding in, finally coming out. I'm seeing what I'm seeing from her is just not just detached, but like emotionally unavailable, intentionally, unavailable, just kind of, maybe she's in shock. I don't know. I can't put a name on it, but I also can't relate to it. I mean, I cannot relate. She goes on to talk about having anxiety, all through her school years. She has anxiety, and that her father and her mother were never very kind to her. So she kind of comes up with the story of not having a good home life, which, we see when there's a lot of situations like this. Oh, let me get to my next timestamp here. Tater, I lost my 3rd child at 7.5 months. People drove me crazy with questions after. Didn't believe me. I guess that's why I don't believe it. Not trying to get anyone down, just a fact. Oh, I can completely understand that. Completely. I'm sorry for your loss too, Tater. But I can completely understand that. I mean, you can tell somebody your story, and because somebody else has a different story or a different symptom or a different, anything, yeah, it's easy to dismiss. It's hard to share anything personal on this platform at all anymore. But I believe you. I know you personally, and I know that you're not someone who would make something like that up. And it does, doesn't it? It does kind of make you reluctant to talk. Really. Let's see. Okay, 56 minutes, 7 seconds. Okay. She's going to go into a little more detail. So remember, she didn't look to see what the sex was. She didn't cut the umbilical cord. She didn't look at it. She just put it in a bag, right? Now they're going to ask her about the bag and her actions, how she tied the bag, things like that.
Twins?
Yes.
Okay. Back to the day of the birth. You said you retrieved the bag from under the kitchen sink, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. What method of closing the bag up did you use when you put it in the trunk of the car?
I think I just tied it in a knot.
Just tied it shut?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a plastic, and you said black
Eva,
plastic trash type bag,
Eva,
is that correct?
beautiful lady.
Okay. And then you said you can't recall if it was in the trunk for a week, if it was a week had gone by prior to when you went to the youth retreat, or just a few days?
That's correct.
Okay.
I don't remember the time frame at all.
Would anyone else have driven that vehicle?
No.
That was your car, you owned that car?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What kind of car was it? Do you remember?
That time I had a Ford Taurus,
What color was it?
tan.
A tan Ford Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
Did you purchase the car, or was it something your parents bought and it was just, you were the only one who drove it?
So I'm pretty sure it was in my name.
It was in your name?
Yes.
So this was 93, so what year would that car have been? Was it newer, older?
It was older. It was a used car. I don't remember what year.
So she doesn't remember much about her car. She remembers how she tied the bag. She remembers how she rolled it, how she put it in the trunk, but she doesn't remember the kind of car. Okay. Now let's go to when she got married, which is shortly after this. Some interesting comments that she makes.
It wasn't a very good car.
Yeah, it was over.
It was
What year did you get married?
94, October 1st.
October of 94. You said you moved in, what, September of
September
93?
93.
And that's to the house that you currently live in now?
Yeah.
So she got married in October of 94 and moved into the house where she currently resides with her husband. So can you imagine? Can you imagine? Good night, Salty. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you and love you very much. So she's going to talk about, let me pull it up here. She moved in. Sorry, got married October 1st. October 94. They moved into the house in September of 93. And that's the house that they currently live in. Okay, now he's going to ask her about her husband knowing if she was pregnant.
And that's to the house that you currently live in now?
Hey, Lisa Schenkel. Oh, Fizzle. I could not imagine. I could not look at the car. I could not drive the car. Oh, absolutely. I do never want to be one of those people that says, I would this or I would that, because it drives me crazy when it comes to grief. You know, when all the parents that are like, well, if my child died, I would be blah, 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 or I would blah, 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 or whatever. But I cannot imagine. I mean, you're suffocating your newborn infant, like literally it just come out of your body. And then, yeah, putting groceries in the same trunk. I am so with you. Hey, Hippie-porium, and I completely understand. The last thing I want to do is trigger somebody. So thanks for stopping in and saying hello. And I hope that you're doing really, really good. And I hope that you have a great evening. And don't click on this video at all, ever. It's not worth it. Ever. Maybe years down the road, but not now. So thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you. And Tater, I am so glad that they found this baby. And it's going to sound kind of maybe mean. Bye, Lisa. You have a great night too. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you. But I'm going to say I'm glad that they found this baby still intact with, able to do an autopsy and find DNA and to do cause of death, all of those things, because this would be a case no one would ever know. No one would ever know. Like the second baby or the other baby, they never found. So she admitted to, but, there too much of this stuff happens. But again, so they're going to ask her, during your pregnancy, Mark never knew that you were pregnant?
During your pregnancy, Mark never knew that you were pregnant. He could never tell.
Thanks. Sorry.
Did you remain active with him during that time frame?
Do a chat.
I believe so.
Yeah. And you could never tell that you're pregnant. It never came up.
He never said anything. I never said anything.
Obviously, at that time, you guys had to be talking about some type of a future together. Because just a few short months later, you kind of moved in together, and within a year and a half, you're getting married. So there had to be some kind of talk.
So we did purchase the house in 93. But he never let on that that he was gonna. I had no idea that he was gonna propose to me in December of 93.
So it wasn't even something that you guys had talked about having a future and kids, and never came up in conversation. It just kind of came up out of the blue.
Right. I mean, we had talked about it, but he was, because of purchasing the house, just felt like it wasn't time that he could purchase a ring or anything like that.
Financially, he was kind of strapped.
Yes, he felt strapped.
Angel of Death. Says this triggers. Know that I lost a baby when I was about 3 months along. Oh, I'm so sorry, Angel of Death. I am so sorry that you had to experience that. And if this is triggering, please click out. That's the last thing that I want to do. I wanted to bring attention to some form of closure, and I hate that word. I don't even like the word closure, but some sort of outcome with finding out after 27, 28, 29. It took going on 30 years of finding out who was responsible for Geauga's child. So I understand completely. Please don't chance it. Please don't risk your mental health. I'm not monetized. I don't care about numbers. I care about people. And so I appreciate you letting me know that. But if it does become triggering for you, please, please, please click out. Don't chance it. Don't ever, never, not any channel. Nothing on this platform is worth yours or anyone else's mental health. And more people need to be told that on a regular basis. Quiz. It's after 3 a.m. Going to listen in bed. All right, I got you. I hope you go to sleep easy. I'll keep it down and I'll behave. Let's not draw up any shit so that it's easier for you to fall asleep because I love you. I got you, Lisa. Thanks for sticking around.
But typically, people talk about, their futures and getting married and whether or not they want to have kids. And
Yes.
so at some point they had to kind of come up in conversation
Yes,
while you guys were dating.
I'm sure it did, yeah.
And what was he always of the opinion he wanted like a large family, or what did you two talk about?
I think we both agreed that we thought 3 children was a good, nice number of kids.
She says 3 kids was going to be a nice number. That we were pretty comfortable with 3, but the first 2 that came was just bad timing. So, we couldn't really work with that. So we just thought we'd stick around, wait for the right time and then keep those ones. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Point blank, you are the worst of the worst types of human, and it drove me nuts to hear her say that. Just 3. First one was a boy. The other one, we don't know, boy or girl, because it was too decomposed. They never found the bones, blah, blah, blah. Like, what the hell? Just wasn't the right time. Wasn't the right time for us. Okay, the babies didn't matter. It wasn't the right time for us. This bitch drives me crazy.
So you both have wanted kids.
Yes.
And talked about having a couple, at least 3.
Yes.
And it was a good number, so.
Yes.
And they had come up throughout your dating?
Periodically. I mean, it wasn't a point of conversation all the time.
No, I'm sure it wouldn't be. But you guys talked about having a future together and,
yes,
and raising a family.
Yes.
So it seemed like you wanted to have kids.
Yes.
And eventually you did have kids.
Yes.
So again, what is it that was going through your mind there in March? That made you think if this was coming up in conversation and you guys were talking about having a future and getting married and having 3 kids, what is it that he wants kids? When you guys are dating, you're talking about it in the future. What is it that made you not want to tell him?
I was scared. I was scared as to what my father would think. And
So if that's not enough bullshit coming out of her mouth, let's get to the part where they confront her about is there something that you think we should know about? And let's watch how she plays this off. The investigators, in my opinion, I'm not a cop. I'm family of law enforcement. I'm definitely not law enforcement. But I think that after watching so many other interrogations, I feel like these officers remained calm. They asked the right questions in the right way. They kept her engaged to the best of their ability. They definitely played the good game of cat and mouse, so to speak. to get her to talk. This part, I think, is pretty indicative of that. 1 hour, 10 minutes, 21 seconds. 1 hour, 10 minutes. Okay. And again, this comes from Rottweiler Investigations. It's pinned at the top. Please make sure that you go subscribe, check out some videos. Definitely leave a comment on this one. This one's pretty. This one hit home a little bit. I mean, this is my community. This is where I'm from. Let's go 110:21. Okay.
Calm down a little bit.
Hey, Earth.
Have you thought of anything else in the meantime since we talked that maybe you think we should know about?
Not really, no.
No. What's kind of taken a little while is we also had a search warrant for your husband's DNA too. Okay, because we believe that he was the father as well. We had kind of connected some family members on his side of the family as well. Not as extensive as we had on your side of the family. We've actually been working your side of the family for quite some time. We have probably 1,400 people in a family tree that we amassed. Working the DNA back until we recently, I would say, made contact with your parents, but we believe that he was related to the baby as well. So we made contact with him. He had made some statements that were a little contradictory to what you had told us. Had you ever been pregnant prior to this pregnancy?
No.
No. There's, besides your 3 children that you have and this baby that we're talking about today, is there any other pregnancies or children or anything besides those 4?
No.
Throughout your whole, life up to this moment.
Even prior to 93?
No.
Because your husband had indicated that he was aware that you were pregnant at some point, and that you told him that you were going to a doctor, and that you had told him that you were pregnant. We have other investigators that were out with us today, and they're actually speaking with your husband right now and have been for quite some time.
No. Never told him I was pregnant. That I was going to a doctor.
He's pretty adamant that he didn't know. He wasn't sure of the time frame. He said it could have been around 92, 93. It might have been a little bit, a couple years prior. But he wasn't sure, but he was in fact aware, and you were telling him you were going to a doctor's office on a regular basis and seeing a doctor. And he knew that you two were having a child. Is there any other pregnancy or any way that he knew about this? Maybe you just don't remember? Again, we're talking about a long time ago.
If he knew, he never told me he knew.
Well, he said that you guys had talked about it, and you had told him that you were going to see a doctor.
Were you pregnant again prior to this baby we're talking about today, and you never told him?
No.
So you, for sure, only been pregnant 3 times in your life?
I had a miscarriage before the twins, but we were married then.
Okay. When do you think that was?
I think it was 95.
Okay. And he was obviously aware of that pregnancy or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so we see the setup here, right? She's like, so there's only 4 pregnancies, right? The first 2 are twins. Well, not the first 2. Of her 3 surviving children, 2 of them are twins. And then there's a single that's born and alive and well. And so then we have 2 deceased babies, right? Now let's skip forward a little bit. Well, let me play a couple more minutes of this. And then let's get to the part where she admits in unaliving a second infant.
Recall about how long you were pregnant?
pretty sure I heard the heartbeat.
Do you know what trimester that would have been?
She was 95. I know I lost the baby in September.
Of 95, you think?
Yes.
Okay.
Which doctor were you seeing at that time?
His name was Dr. Herman
Herman? And where was his office located?
at Hillcrest.
At Hillcrest Hospital?
I think he was across the street in those medical buildings.
Okay. How many times did you go to see Dr. Herman?
For that pregnancy and then for the twins.
Okay. How many times did you see him for that pregnancy specifically?
The first one?
Mm-hmm. The one that you had that you lost?
The miscarriage?
Yes.
2 or 3.
2 or 3 appointments you had with him?
Yeah.
And was he aware that you had the miscarriage?
Yes.
That Dr. Herman was?
Yes, so it was at Hillcrest when he had the miscarriage.
You were in the hospital and what happened?
Yes.
So that one is documented?
I believe so, yes.
Well, if you're in the hospital, it should be.
Okay.
And that was 95-ish. You said September of 95?
Yes.
But you weren't sure how far along you were?
Maybe 2 months. 2.5 to 3.
So most likely still in the first trimester?
Yeah.
Was there ever a time prior to the incident we're talking about today that you ever thought you could have been pregnant?
No. No.
You said that you and your husband, you liked him when you were 16. Did you guys date a little bit when you were 16?
We did.
What caused you guys to separate? You said you separated for a while.
He didn't ask me out anymore.
Okay, so you went on like a couple dates, or were you guys kind of, exclusively seeing each other?
Oh yeah, no, just a couple dates.
On a couple dates?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You guys have like an argument or a disagreement over something specific?
No, he just never called to ask me out again. And then I reached out to him.
After a period of time?
Mm-hmm.
And how long was that period of time?
Oh, I don't know. I was 17.
What made you reach out to him?
I liked him.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious if he'd go back out with me again.
And you said, obviously, during the time around this event and before that, you were sexually active with your husband now, your boyfriend at the time. When were you guys first active?
Not till maybe 18.
When you were 18?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question came up earlier about her husband at the time, boyfriend, same man, knowing if she was pregnant or not. And I forgot I had a link for that, right? Or a timestamp for that. 1 hour, 23 minutes, 24 seconds. We'll hear it in her words. Here we go. Absolutely fizzle. I was pregnant one time and I knew. Your boobs hurt so bad. I was athletic. Walking hurt in the boob area. Like, what? And yeah, the morning sickness and stuff. Like, whoa. I mean, I'm 5 foot tall. I think I was around like 95 pounds. I mean, I was super tiny. I mean, I'm still 5 foot tall. Imagine that. And I'm about 112 pounds. I think it was about 95 pounds then. Oh, I knew right away, like immediately within the first, yeah, you just know, and you go to the doctor and then you get the test, you know what I mean? But yeah, for her, like, what? Acting like she didn't know. But the question always comes up, like, how did he not know, you know? They've been sexually active for some time. So let's hear what she says about that.
I think
Fizzle said, I could smell like superhuman. That's Fizzle's superpower. Not just beautiful, y'all, but she smelled like a superhuman. Leaves sick and hungry at the same time. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Yeah. Guys, I dropped the link for AB's world famous pain relieving moisturizing balms, lip balm, seeds, chocolate chip, can of cookies. Inquire directly by step exploring videos at gmail.com. That's step-by-step exploring videos at gmail.com. I can testify that they are amazing products. I use them for my migraine headaches. I use them for my back pain with my spine fractures, rib fractures, my arm fractures. They're amazing. If you have never tried them, you should definitely call. I can't remember. I'm going to have to go back through my emails or just talk to him directly to find out exactly what his fee is for samples of everything, but the samples are actually full size everything. It's the best deal that you're going to find. Shipping is very quick. You're ordered directly from him, not through some crazy website. And out of all the people that he may not like, I've never seen or heard him dox or give out an address or phone number to anybody. So if you have pain anywhere in your body, including migraines, look, I use the little ointment. Not the ointment, the lip balm, comes like in a chapstick tube. I use it on my temples. I put it down behind my ears and I put it in the back of my neck and I just kind of massage it in. It is amazing. So if you haven't tried it, please try it again. Thanks, Lee. Sound like a commercial on the radio. For the best day of your life, contact AB step-by-step exploring videos at gmail.com. You won't regret it. Now let's listen to this whack-a-mole job.
it just,
Yes, nicely packaged
Yeah.
and quick in the delivery.
3 kids that I was raising and involved with.
You said you were obviously still with your husband during the pregnancy. You stayed together and you said he was not aware of it. What measures did you take to hide that pregnancy? You said you were still intimately involved with him. How were you able to keep him from knowing you were pregnant?
Well, like I said, I was always heavy set. So I don't recall really showing or like other than do.
Did you gain a lot of weight, do you remember?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't. I think I probably stayed about the same as I always was. I was always over 200, 230 in weight.
You know, every woman's different in different pregnancies. Sometimes you gain weight, sometimes you don't. And, so every time it could be different. Did you take any other steps to try to hide it from Mark?
No.
No. Because obviously you don't want him to know.
Right.
But you didn't have to do anything else to keep it from him? He just...
I don't think so.
So a little more in reference to Mark. Guys, I can't wait to tell Bro Ho how awesome the mic is. Thanks. I'm getting messages and stuff, so I appreciate it. It's a huge upgrade. I'm still getting used to it. I'm hoping aneurysms all settle down, all these migraines and craziness settles down. I'll be able to stream a little bit more because trust me, y'all, there's some other stuff going on and I do got some stuff to say about it for sure, and a platform for other people who don't have platforms to use. We'll talk on that a little more later, though. Getting to the next timestamp, 128:25. So he's going to kind of call her out here a little bit. And I like how he does this. I like how he calls her out. He's kind of like, not so sure how it's going to, how your husband, Mark, is going to feel about it. But, there's been some big stuff in the community, and so, you know, they're not going to deal too well with this. It's been 26 years. You know, we don't know how Mark's going to react, but we're a little concerned about you and the community, because for 26 years the community has been, you know, anxiously awaiting some type of answer. The same community that put forth all of the money, the energy, the funding, the blood, sweat, and tears in order to, you know, give your infant a beautiful resting place. So I'm seeing, so Fizzle says, let me do this. Fizzle says, Lisa says, I was sick every morning after the first couple of weeks. Right. Men, if your women wake up sick several days in a row and they're not contagious with the flu, like you don't get sick later, there's your sign. If your wife or girlfriend suddenly smells like a superhuman, there's your sign. If, let's see, hold on a minute. They suddenly, without warning, out of nowhere, develop an awful gag reflex, like have an endless cycle of brushing their teeth, there's your sign. You know what I mean? Tater says, eggs were your heck no food. If they suddenly despise certain foods that they normally loved, there's your sign. Fizzle says, I would eat an entire rotisserie chicken. Girl, I do that now. Bring me a rotisserie chicken. I am on that like white on rice. Okay. She said with hot sauce at work for lunch at least 3 times a week. And I loved lemons and coconut cream pie. See what I mean? There's your sign, people. Things change like that. You didn't really get sick. The prenatals made you feel gross, but you switched to Flintstones. It's Flintstones vitamins. Lise ate salt and vinegar potato chips with milk every morning for breakfast. If that's happening, there's your sign. Suddenly developing horrible acid reflux could be a sign. Vivid dreams. I remember the vivid dreams. They made me want to run. I remember a phase of Whopper Juniors from Burger King, which I'm not a fast food person. I don't eat fast food, but I developed a strong attachment and a mad serious love for Whopper Juniors with extra, with extra ketchup and mayonnaise. Oh, I was all about it. All about it. And then after that, I couldn't eat them anymore. And then it was Taco Bell. And after that, I couldn't eat it anymore. Yeah, Lee Marie. So if she suddenly is addicted to Kool-Aid, there's your sign. Craving watermelon, there's your sign. Also got hemorrhoids that decided they found a home and never left. Yep. If your wife, girlfriend, partner, all of a sudden has hemorrhoids, there's your sign. Yeah. I mean, there's so many signs, you know. Boobs hurt, don't touch them. Don't think about touching them. Don't sing about thinking about touching them. Just don't touch them. Don't touch me. They're puking all the time. They're moody, crying over nothing. You spilled your milk, they start crying. Any of those things happen, it's a good indication that she's expecting, and that means you're expecting. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get with the program here. Mark, you should have got with the program. Let's see. This next part is a little, they're setting her up again. Okay, they're getting a confession. Vilma, what you said, you're going to talk about. I feel like I'm getting punked on here. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not punking anybody. Promise, I'm not punking. Burden of proof, I've never been pregnant, but heard many women sure love some pickles. Burden of proof, I'm going to tell you, Bob. Not only did I have an infatuation at one point in time with Whopper Juniors, I'm talking like we went to, I was, I think, like 6.5, 7 months pregnant. And we went to, oh my gosh, it's not Vegas, but it's on the East Coast. I can never, my words are not coming to me. It's on the East Coast. They gamble there. There's a big pier. They got rides, all the stuff. New Jersey. What's a gambling place in New Jersey? Somebody help me out here with this. My ex-husband, his family, some of my family, we all went out there. They was gambling. I found the only Burger King on that little strip. The boardwalk. Thank you. The boardwalk. They got a Burger King, or they used to, back in 1994. Atlantic City. Thank you, Lise. Appreciate it. The boardwalk of Atlantic City. They have at the time, back then, they had a Burger King. And it was open 24/7. And I'm telling you, 3 times a day, I was down there getting 2 Whopper Juniors with extra ketchup, extra mayo, and I said, load that shit up with pickles. And they did. They absolutely did. There is something with pickles. I don't know what it is. I think it's like the salty and the sweet mixed together. For me, it was the pickle being like the sweet and tang, or the salty and tangy, and then the ketchup being sweet. I don't know, but I was in love with them. And if you tried to take one from me, you might have lost your life at that time. It was a little something like that. But I think everyone has that. Like I never had the ice cream in the middle of the night. Never had the weird. I mean, I've heard some weird stuff, but right, Lisa's on the West Coast and she got that shit. A for Lise. So, okay, where are we at here? Oh, okay, now they're gonna let her know. They're gonna have to, people are gonna find out, and they're gonna be a little. They're worried about her safety, but they're setting her up for the confession of the second unaliving of an infant. This is sad.
Not my safety, no. No, I think I want to be spoken to again.
Where do you think the safest place for you would be right now?
We're not so sure it would be back with Mark. I'm not saying it's not safe, but we're not sure how he's going to deal with that. This is something, obviously you've known this and battled with it for 26 years. This is something that has been literally dropped in his lap today out of nowhere. And I don't know how he's going to react to that. And we're concerned for him and for you. We have no intentions of running out of here telling anybody what the crux of our conversation was today. However, you have to understand, over the last 26 years, this was a very big case. And in that regard, I don't know how you didn't know about it. There's been news stories, newspaper articles. Like I said, even as recent as 2016, there was a news story that some of the original investigators did on the news. It was probably a 12, 15-minute article that they did on the news. So this is something that was and is something today very big in the community here in Geauga County. There's people that, like we said, donated clothes. They donated the burial expenses.
There's a headstone. Yeah, there's a headstone and a memorial. They did a ceremony and did a headstone and memorial. And your child is referred to as Geauga's baby.
Because so many members of the community donated different things for your child. And they maintain that gravestone. So this is something that is very big in the community. And with that being said, we are concerned for your welfare and what is the best place for you. So where do you think the best place would it be? With your sister, maybe?
Probably not.
No. Why do you think that? We have not told her. We did have a search warrant for her DNA as well, but we did not execute that today. So we have not made contact with her. We've only made contact with you and your husband today.
So they've only talked to her. They've only talked to her husband, right? They have a search warrant for her sister's DNA, but they basically got her to admit, and so they don't need to execute that search warrant. But let's hear her actually have the audacity to sit here and ask for sympathy or come up with, how terrible her life has been. She's never thought highly of herself. Blah, blah, blah. And that's coming up next. We're almost finished with this.
Where do you think you'd be safest, Gail? Are you still having thoughts or considerations of ending your life or harming yourself?
Shit.
I guess now that it's all out on the table, I guess probably not.
Do you feel better in that it's all out on the table? And somewhere, there's got to be some burden left off you, something that you've kept in for 26 years.
It's only been something that I've known. I've
I mean,
dealt with
sometimes those
a
are-
lot of burdens.
What other burdens have you dealt with?
Growing up wasn't easy in my house.
Growing up wasn't easy in my
What
house.
is that?
My father was an alcoholic for 16 years of my life.
It's not easy to deal with.
No, he is verbally abusive.
He's verbally abusive.
So when I said I never thought highly of myself, that's where that comes from.
Didn't think highly of myself because of that.
And speaking to a lot of your family, I understand that even though your dad was adopted, that was something.
So she's going to keep going on and on about how she's the victim. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, lady, you don't get a pass with those of us in the real world here. Not that the interrogators gave her a pass by any means or stretch of the imagination. But if I listen to it again, I'm probably going to upchuck everything and my soul. So let's go to where they've set her up now a couple of times. They've led her to believe, like, we've got DNA. We know you've got 26 years of shit to unburden. We're here, blah, blah, blah. So let's just get to the meat and potatoes. 141.50. Let me get there. 141. They're like, when's the last time you ate? Let me get you some food. They're treating her very kind. Lee says, I'll try it, but if it's bad, try what? Oh, Jack in the Box? I've always wanted to try it. I've heard it's really good. I would like to try it. Yes, Lisa. When Lee Marie and I make it out, remind me to show you the video. I'm going to show that. I'm going to unveil that. Remind me to show you that. We're going to be rolling in style, y'all. So here's the setup, and it works beautifully.
Something, and then it's your choice if you want to eat it, okay?
Okay, give us a little bit of time to find somewhere that we know is going to be able to ensure your safety, okay?
So they're going to go get her food, and then they're telling her stuff like, we're going to find a place to take you for your safety because what you've done is so horrendous, and the whole community pitched in and carried the burden of burying your infant that you murdered. They buried the proper resting place, whole 9 yards, okay? Purchased a headstone, had it engraved and personalized, which is not cheap. All of these things, right? So now they're going to talk to her, and they're flat out like, there's a lot of cases out there very similar to this. There's a lot of remains of infants. We've got your DNA. We've got 1,400 people in your family that you're biologically related to DNA. We've got your husband's DNA. So we're going to need you to be honest with us. And let's watch how this plays out because I think it's beautiful. They coming for her, and she don't know it yet.
The last thing we feel like we need to talk about with you is the fact that obviously now we had a search warrant for your DNA. All right, and we have your DNA, and that is not only going to be compared into the child, but also into the database. And there are many, unfortunately, other cases out there. And your DNA is going to be in the system that's going to be compared to all those cases. And now is the time, if there is anything else, that you need to get it out there. You've come, clean with this, what's happened here. You've told us what's happened. If there is anything else that your DNA is going to link you to, because unfortunately there are other baby cases that happened, and those are still open. And then there's other homicide cases here in Geauga County and in Ashtabula County and Lake County. And now that we have your DNA, it's going to be compared to all those cases. It's going to be in that system. So if there is any other issues out there that we need to talk about, now is the time to do it. Because I'm not getting warm and fuzzy that this isn't the only time. That there may be some more times. And it's going to be compared to all those other cases, Gail. And the last thing you want to do is say that you came in here and be honest with us because, you know, part of what happens is, you know, truth in sentencing and showing genuine remorse and coming clean. And if there are other issues, now is the time that we need to talk about.
Exactly, Tater.
And I truly believe that you know that there is other issues. And we're here to listen. We're not here to judge you. We're not yelling and screaming.
She had that, oh, shit.
But you know and I know this isn't the only time. That there's more times that this has happened. And now is the time that you need to tell us about those, Gail. How many other times has this happened?
One other time.
One other time? And when was that?
Did you hear that? Did you freaking hear that? I'm gonna rewind for just a second. I want to play it again.
The time that you need to tell us about. That there's more times that this has happened. And now is the time that you need to tell us about those, Gail. How many other times has this happened?
One other time.
One other time?
They said, how many other times has this happened? She said, one other time. One other time that you gave birth to a baby in a bathroom. Oh my God.
And when was that? Was it before or after this child?
Before.
Before. Was that what Mark was talking about, the 1991? Because he had told our investigators in 1991 that there was another pregnancy that he was aware of.
I didn't tell him
Okay.
I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So he may have known.
When was his previous pregnancy?
Probably about that time.
About the 1991 time?
How old were you at the time? Would you remember that? Would that be easier to remember?
20, 21.
Okay.
20.
Explain that situation to us.
Tell us what happened.
So she admits that there was another one, and it was before the one that she's caught for. So before the baby, they were able to do the autopsy and all of those things for. Now listen to very similar story here. It's like toilets, garbage bags, you know. It's like very similar.
Is it Mark's child as well?
It is.
And tell us what happened on that situation.
Pretty much the same situation, other than I had the baby at his rental house.
And where's his rental house?
It was Euclid.
Euclid? Is that on Harwich?
No.
What street was that on?
No, it's where he was living in 248th Street.
Okay.
He rented from his brother.
Mm-hmm.
He gave birth to it in the toilet.
Good night, Angel. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you.
Is that a boy or a girl?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Again, she doesn't
I
know.
never,
You didn't want to know?
I never looked. I don't know.
What happened after you gave birth to the child?
I did the same thing. Put it in a garbage bag.
And what did you do with the garbage bag?
I left it.
What do you mean you left it? What does that mean, Gail?
I took it and left it over by medical buildings in Euclid.
Where did you leave it exactly?
There,
If you're listening closely, you heard that correctly. She used another dumping site between two medical buildings. I'm going to rewind 10 seconds so you can hear that again. Pisses me off too, Angel. Man, did that had my blood going.
medical buildings in Euclid.
Where did you leave it exactly?
There, there's a road called Brush Road. Goes up behind very tall medical buildings that are there. And I just left it over in the tall grass.
Kind of like field area you left in the tall grass?
Yeah.
What time of year was this?
Summer. I think it was summer.
So that one's a little hard to believe. Two big medical buildings. Patients, doctors, nurses, people going in and out all day, every day. And she places the body in between these buildings. She's going to later, I'm not going to play it. I dropped the link. It's pinned to the top. You can go to this timestamp and see that she actually draws a diagram and then marks where she left the body. She believes or she remembers all of these things, okay? But she doesn't know what sex the baby was. She doesn't know what it looked like. All she knows is that it wasn't breathing. Like, to me, that's just a little bit far-fetched. It's hard, very hard to believe. So I've got one more clip here that I want to play for you. And I feel like they're kind of punking her or trolling her, so to speak, a little bit. And then I want to show you her sentencing. And then I want to compare that to Brooke Skylar Richardson, the first case that we were looking at. So 1:51:52. Let's get there. We're almost done. Here we go.
Right. I'll grab an overview. Gail, is that the only other time? There's only 2 times. Are you being honest with me about that?
Yeah.
Okay, because like Detective Seaman explained to you, your DNA will hit the database in a matter of days. And it's going to connect to all those files, all those missing unidentified persons. So if you're not being honest with us, we're going to know. So now is your chance to be able to get on the front end of this. There's nothing else you need to tell us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that I recall.
You forgotten another incident?
No, I don't think so.
Can you kind of draw us how that, like...
He said, so have you forgotten another incident? She says, no, I don't think so.
Not that I recall.
You forgotten another incident?
No, I don't think so.
Can you kind of draw...
Like what? What? What the hell? What? Okay. So let's go to her sentencing because I think that's. I'd like for you to see the difference. Let me screen share here. Okay. So it's only 1 minute and 27 seconds, but it's gonna give a little preface here, and then we're gonna go through her brain fart. The jury's decision, and then her sentencing.
After almost 3 decades, the Geauga's child case is now closed as Gail Eastwood Ritchie was sentenced today. Neil Fisher was in the courtroom for that sentencing and joined us now live with the tales from Chardon. Neil, good evening to you.
Hey, good evening, Russ. The decades-long case is over in Geauga County as Gail Eastwood Ritchie has been sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 15 years. The case that drew a lot of attention in 1993 when the baby's body was found, it drew a lot of attention in the community and left an impact on the lives of everyone in Geauga County.
As far as her sentencing, I think she got exactly what she deserved.
The choice you made in February 1993 was a terrible one. It's almost indescribable in its sheer awfulness.
30 years, and we would ask that you certainly take that.
The defense told 3 News they're going to continue to fight for Eastwood Ritchie and tell us they still maintain her innocence. Eastwood Ritchie was not in the courtroom here in Geauga County today, but she was on a video call. The judge told her that he believes she took the easy way out of the situation back in 1993. Russ?
Okay, Neil Fisher in Chardon. Thank you.
So this mic accidentally mutes on purpose, so I always have to check. Okay. Here we go.
Your wrongful efforts to conceal what happened in February 1993 did buy you 29 years of normal life where you got the chance to get married, raise children, and do some good works. But ultimately, you gained that time on the back of a helpless infant whose body you concealed in the woods. Ironically, Geauga's child did more for you than you ever did for him, probably. Your freedom is over. It is finally time to atone for these awful, unnecessary deeds committed 3 decades ago. So I sentence you to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 15 years.
As far as her sentencing.
Oh, we already watched that one. My bad. Here it is.
And good evening. Thanks for being with us.
We begin with breaking news. There is a verdict in the trial of Geauga's child.
Isabel Lawrence joined us now live from Chardon outside the courtroom. Isabel, good evening.
Good evening, Russ and Laura. After about 5.5 hours of deliberations today, the jury within the past hour here has just read their verdict. And I was in the courtroom the moment it happened. Here's when the judge found the verdict.
On count 1, charging aggravated murder, the jury finds the defendant not guilty. On count 2, the charge of murder, the defendant finds the defendant guilty.
You heard it there, guilty of murder, not guilty of aggravated murder. And I do want to differentiate the two for you here. I know this can be a bit confusing. Aggravated murder must show prior calculation and design. The jury decided that was not the case here. Some background for you again. This case has been looked at since March 25th, 1993, when a baby boy was found in a trash bag along Sidley Road. Then in 2019, an arrest came. Gail Eastwood Ritchie, the connection made through familial DNA. Now, ever since then, this case has been in trial here. And when the verdict was read, the defense for Eastwood Ritchie there, I could hear them. I was sitting right behind them, and I could audibly hear them whispering that they were shocked. In fact, I caught up with them just after the verdict was read on the steps of this courthouse. Here's what they had to say.
I felt that the state, frankly, did not have enough evidence to meet their burden of proof, and I'm shocked and surprised.
Now, after this, Eastwood Ritchie was put in handcuffs and taken back into custody. Now, the judge did say that he feels that justice here has been delayed long enough when asked about a bond. And so as a result, the judge went ahead and revoked that bond. Again, this verdict coming after over 2 decades looking into this case just moments ago here in Chardon.
Okay, very much. Thank you, Isabel, very much for doing that report for us. Of course, that verdict, as you said, coming down just moments ago. In fact, about 5:29 this afternoon. We'll have more on this, of course, that it's 7 and 11.
I also, if you know, you'll notice I dropped a link to the full sentencing video. It's about 28.5 minutes. Yeah, it's about 28.5 minutes. So there's also 3 links that I just dropped that I highly recommend for getting your true crime fix, for being updated on cases, not just Summer Wells, not just Harmony Montgomery, but all of the missing children that are going on right now, all of the trials, all of the jury verdicts, all of the sentencing, all of the unredacted information that's being released as it's coming out. There's links I just dropped. The moderators helped me drop them. You'll find AB, his channel A Balance. You'll find Burden of Proof, and you'll find Sleuth Mom. Those are the 3 channels that I highly recommend going to, listening. And I happen to know all 3 of them. If there's a case that you would like for them to cover, for someone to cover, I know that you can hit them with email and give them a heads up on a case that you feel is important, maybe something that's in your area. If you are involved in something and you'd like to bring awareness to, a true crime case, I just highly recommend those 3 channels. Unfortunately, there's, I love Gray Hughes. I love Chasing Truth. But these channels are not giant channels. And I think that when it comes to morals, ethics, doing the right thing, and not wavering from that, I think that you're going to find those 3 channels are going to give you all of the truth, a little bit of their opinion, maybe slight conspiracy, not conspiracy theories, but like possibilities, things like that, but not going to stray from what the local law enforcement and detectives are giving you. Those 3 channels, A Balance, Burden of Proof, Sleuth Mom. They happen to be my 3 favorites. When it comes to true crime, that's where you're going to find me in the chats. You're not going to find me anywhere else when it comes to true crime. So I want to make sure everybody knows that. Also, again, AB's wonderful, wonderful tinctures. Let me get those back out for you. Also, if you have pain anywhere, any kind of pain, if you have body pain, muscle pain, if you're healing up from something, I had that terrible accident where I was flung off the side of a rail car and dragged about 500 feet, unconscious, still dealing with it, unfortunately. I've tried AB's products. I'm going to drop it in the chat here. Step-by-step exploring videos at gmail.com. You're going to find world famous, and that's truth, world famous pain relieving, thanks Lee, pain relieving moisturizing balms, lip balms, seeds, chocolate chip, can of cookies. You inquire directly to him. When you hit that email and you're like, hey, this is what I got going on, you're talking to AB himself. You're not talking to anyone else. You're ordering directly from him. Comes from Canada, but don't think that means that the shipping is delayed or a long time. I placed an order, and I think it was 8 days later, that I received my product. Normally, I tell you don't order shit from anybody off social media. Don't do that. Normally, I tell you that. Don't go buy candles. Don't go buy shirts. Definitely don't go buy soap. That's the last thing that you want to buy on this platform is soap, I promise. Don't do it. It's safe, though, to order products from AB. I know so many people that have, and they've not been betrayed by him. No addresses have been leaked. No phone numbers have been leaked. No emails have been, nothing. AB's not here for that. But if you do have pain, I want to tell you that it works. These are world famous pain relieving moisturizing balms. They do work. They've helped me tremendously with migraine headaches. They've helped me with an ulnar. I have permanent ulnar nerve damage in my left arm. I had all my ribs broke on the left side. I had spine fractures, head trauma, a traumatic brain injury, all kinds of stuff going on. And I'm here to tell you, AB's world famous pain relieving moisturizing balm, all of those. If you have pain, please try it. Please try it before you go to the doctor and take a prescription of opiates. Please give his ointments a try. They are amazing, and it will save you the hassle down the road. And they're cheap compared to looking around in your area. I promise you, his sample packages are actually almost full size stuff. Like, I just got out of the hospital yesterday. In a couple of days, I'll be hitting AB up like, hey, man, I need some more of your stuff. And he'll send it to me. So, hey, Hondo, it's good to see you too. Been in the hospital, been sick, been dealing with some stuff, but I'm feeling much better. Miss you guys too. As a matter of fact, I think, and I'm not sure what today is. Today's Tuesday. I'll have to go look and see who's live because I don't know who's live. AB, I think, was live earlier. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for popping in tonight. I appreciate it greatly. It's been a while. I'll probably be back, if not tomorrow, the next day for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys something to think about. And just to reiterate quickly, we had Brooke, Skylar, Richardson, who committed the same crime that Gail did. Gail Linwood Ritchie did. 26 and a half years apart. And two vastly different punishments and expectations for future. Just something to think about. There's tons of links throughout the live stream. Click on those, go back, look everything up, and just think about, if that were to happen in your area or to anybody that you know. There definitely should be harsher punishments against, people who harm their unborn or newborn, just born babies. I mean, it's crazy to think about. Imagine if that were a father instead of a mother. We would be talking about a completely different situation in crime. So thanks for stopping in. I appreciate everybody. Hey, I'm feeling much better, Hondo. Got 3 aneurysms, just being a pain in the ass, waiting for stabilization to get the repairs done. In the meantime, they just make me sick and not feel very good. Confused, all that good stuff. But I got out yesterday of the hospital, been feeling better. So I wanted to stop in and say hey. So thanks, moderators, for being here. I greatly appreciate you guys. All of you for stopping in. If you're catching it on the replay, Rottweiler Interrogations is pinned to the link. They're also in the description. Please go give them a view and a thank you for that interrogation. I appreciate it. Catch y'all in Jenny's chat, Savage's chat, or Sleuth Mom, Burden of Proof, and A Balance. Have a great night.